Okay, and we're live. All right, Nandi. Hey, remember you're gonna be quiet. So, as scheduled, we are live. Thank you, everybody that's here right now. My mom or his mom had to make a quick run, so I gotta find a way to keep him distracted while we do this. So, if you guys want to give me a minute before we start, I'll be right back. All right, now let's go find something. Okay? Come on.
Yeah. Carry me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want that.
Okay, calm down. All right, where's your tablet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll buy it. Yeah. Okay, I want you to be up here. I want you to play tablet till I'm done, okay?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll put you some crackers.
Crackers.
Cool.
Oh, are they yummy? They're yummy. Where's my mom?
No, this is not.
It's not yummy. I want some juice.
Okay, wait. No, there's no juice. It's too late for juice. You can drink water. Okay?
Oh, water.
Yep.
Put that into there.
Into where?
So it makes it.
Yes, sir. All right. Try to give him soda and ended up spilling all over me. So that's what you're going to see on my shirts. It's probably just sleepy. They're fussy around nighttime. No, he's in a great mood. He's going through a play with daddy phase. So I don't get to breathe. So let's see if my plan works. I think it'll hold him for at least 30 minutes. So as always, we are going to be discussing the 4 world ages in this chat. I am super I am very, very, very open to questions. This is a Q&A. So if you have any questions about the 4 world ages, I'm going to briefly explain it.
Daddy,
But if you see the top,
Daddy,
Namdi?
I'm drinking it.
Okay, just chair. So if you see the very top, I've pinned a post at the very top that says Uga, the little blue banner up there says Uga, the 4 world ages explained or something like that. So if you click on there, you can watch the full video that we're going to be discussing today. The reason I decided to do this one is because I had so many questions rush in once I posted this video. I said, okay, let's just do a live and settle it once and for all. So as always, I begin with Igorji. All right, so okike kere ụwa ekelere m gị, ala ekelere m gị, ndị iche na ndị mmụọ niile nọ na live oke ekelere m ụnụ, ekelere m ndị eke, ndị orie, ndị afọ na ndị nkwọ. Ọjị ike wu ọjị udo, ọjị ndụ na ọjị ike. Ihe wu ihe anyị niile ga-chọrọ ịghọta maka anyị na-ekwu taa ni ise. All right, so in my very shaky Igbo, I just said, the creator who created everything, I greet you, the earth, who is the earth, Allah Wala. It's a title for Allah. So, and I like using it when I'm doing any type of prayer or ceremony or anything like that. So I greeted her. I greeted Ndiche, which are our ancestors, the ancestors of everybody watching today, all 13 of you plus 1, which is me. I greeted our ancestors, and then I greeted them more, the unliving who are among us, the presences that are not living but are among us. I then said that I present you with the Aji to honor them, and I told them that this Aji is an Aji of life, an Aji of peace, and an Aji of strength. And that is what we are looking for collectively in this particular ceremony. So, Ndibo Kwenu. I'll see how real you guys are. Mibo kwezenu. All right, let's begin. Not real enough. So if you hear, you say, here we go. Yes. So if you hear, right, if and I don't care who you are, you're either you know damn well you're an Igbo person or you probably are, right? So when you hear Igbo kwenu, you respond with heya. Okay. So I'll let this one slide for this time, but next time we'll incorporate that, or else there'll be a punishment. Let's see here. LOL, not real. Okay. All right, let's see what we're talking about up here. Homegirl Healer, I could not miss this. The video answered so many questions but created more. Isn't that always the case? Well, we're very glad to have you, Homegirl Healer. He said, greetings, Derek. I heard that we're going into Ugangu. Uganyangu, I think. Uganyangu. Is that true? Okay, so we're gonna kick it off with Ross's question. No, I don't believe that the next round would be Ugangu. I think maybe that's what you're saying. The next round will actually be because the four world ages, and I'll explain what they are. Like I'll do a brief explanation shortly, but the four world ages function like seasons. So it goes in the order of Ugaka, Ugachi, Ugangu, I think that's the one you're referencing, and then Ugazi, which is the one we're living in right now. So technically, the next one will be Ugachi. At the end of the video, I said I'd be curious to see how this era pans out and what the next one will look like, because, or no, not Ugachi, sorry, Ugaka, and because if you know the description of Ugaka, it's very hard to imagine us going back to that. So I wonder what that situation will kind of look like and so forth. If you guys can hear my son's video games in the background, let me know. I'll try to turn down the volume. Otherwise, I don't want to bother him. I got him at peace and I don't want to disrupt it. Is it on yet? I can't see anything. Transformation Geek, I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me or what, but if you can, yeah, we're on. Somebody let her know if possible. My brother was watching the stream last time, and he said that if someone donates, you need to make some noise. So this morning I was looking for an ogene. I want to start playing ogene anytime somebody does a donation. I couldn't find one. Me and my son went to the arcade today, and we were able to get this hand clapper. So we're going to use this until the ogene arrives, until I find a reasonable one here in Houston. I'm in Houston, so it shouldn't be easy. We can hear, but it's not a bother. I'm going to turn it down. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to turn the volume down, okay?
Because it's too loud?
Yeah, it's all too loud.
Too big loud?
Yes, this is perfect. Good job.
I'm going to hippo game.
All right.
I'm doing the hippo game.
I return. All right, I'm back. Okay, so to answer Ross's question, if I haven't already, we're going to go into Ugaka, if possible, next, because they work as seasons, and Uganwu is the third. Uganwu is the era we left, right? Uganwu is the era we left. Now I'll kind of explain what that all means from a historic context, and compare and contrast it to some other cosmologies around the world, because I do see a lot of overlaps. In the video itself, I isolated the Hindu cosmology and the fact that they have what are called yuga. Well, I'm definitely saying it wrong, but they're yuga, and they are four world ages. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There's the Krit, I think the Treta, Dwapara, and what's the fourth one? Kali, right? And they correlated almost perfectly as far as like the nature and the description of them. This is from the Bhagavad Gita. I can't. I'm not gonna try to say it right because I can't. So Bhagavad Gita. So it correlated almost perfectly with the Igbo account of the four world ages, or the ages that humanity went through to get to the point that we are today. So the uncanniness of the correlation made me say, you know what, I'm going to mention this in the video. Now, I usually hesitate to bring up other cultures in the videos because there's this weird habit that people have sometimes of like, no, that's not weird. I apologize about that. There's a habit that some people tend to have to say, okay, these people are Igbo or we are those people. And I don't want that. That's not, unless you can prove it. If you're willing to live by those words, then fine. But I don't want to create that situation until everybody has enough information and enough orientation based on, I guess, what I've presented or what's available for us to now start doing the more advanced compare and contrast of cultures and cosmologies. So yeah, sounds excited about this. Okay, I'm trying to see, I'm trying to catch up with what you guys are saying. Maybe there'll be a nuclear war. Whoa, that'll send us back into the Stone Age. Okay, then everything is stored in myths. Buildings that went up to heaven. LMAO. Well, yeah, I mean that is 100% a sad and likely option, or a it's very likely. And what's actually interesting is in the Indian account of the four world ages, or the Hindu account of the four world ages, they say that in the end of the last age, that the average person will live to be 25. Now, right now, we the maximum age is 100. If you surpass 100, you're blessed. If you reach 100, you're blessed, honestly. But 25 will be the new 100 by the end of this age that we're in. Very grim. So, what is the length of a world age? That is a super good question. It's hard to answer. I never got the answer on that, so I personally don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know what the length of the world age is. Of a world age is.
I'm playing hippo game.
Yes, you are good, Imena. Yeah. So I never got the answer on the length of a world age. I will say, right, that based on, like, I guess what we'd call the evidence, Ugazi, the age we're in, kind of just begun. And we got quite a long ways to go before it ends. When I was doing my looking into the Igbo accounts and so forth, dates weren't given. And one thing that's particularly interesting, as to a theory I have as to why it was hard to find dates, was because even the term uga is the root verb. If you want to learn the Igbo language, right? The number one thing to learn are the verbs, because it's a verb based language. So every noun is based off of a conjugation of a verb, right? So if you look at the word uga, right, UGA, ga is movement, going, right? So or history in our culture is counted by movements and places. When I was talking to my dad about this, he kind of broke it down for me. So usually generational, you call them generational stories or generational sagas, are told based off of movements, like going from one place to another and so on and so forth. So if you pay attention to the world ages story, it is the movement of the force that would become humanity that is being accounted for. In Ugaka, we lived in what's called Akon, the nest of Chuku, and we were one with Chuku. And then some of us, not all of us, right? So there's a lot of humans or would be humans that are still in Obi Chuku. Just a few of them came to this world, the world of the living, and they manifested into beings with flesh, right? And this began Ugachi. This is when the beginning of the first world age is Ugaka, right? And is where you get the term Umaka from. Somebody had asked me, how old is this system or this understanding of the four world ages? And I think the answer I gave was, that I can't give a date, but I can tell you that it probably goes back to the very beginning of the culture, or an exceptionally, like, a very early date, because it's so ingrained in the language. Like the word for child, umaka, is the same thing as is from this thing, right? So the in the Ugaka, people were light beings, right? We lived as light beings, and we lived as one with Chuku, and we saw ourselves as the universe and the universe as us. There was no differentiation between two people or anything, that type of thing. In this time, it was also said that people did not lie, people did not live dishonestly. It was those things were rather impossible, right? They were impossible because an individual understood that they were all reality, and all reality was Namdi, loud a little bit, and all reality was within the individual. So with that type of dynamic, it was hard then to, like, introduce things like corruption and so forth, right? One of the ways I think of it is, like, if you look at, like, the earth, it's impossible for the earth to lie, right? It's impossible for the earth to be corrupt, because it is all reality, at least for us as human beings, right? It is this massive thing that doesn't have another thing. Those types of things come in when there's differentiation. That's the best way to say it, right? So when you begin to lie or become dishonest or do those types of things, it is because there's another thing that you need to lie to, right? And when you get these things that have no other comparison or have no other peer, then that's what happens. So if you're one with the universe, those things it's impossible to do. right? Because if you were to be deceiving another person, you're deceiving yourself because you are one with that person. Now, this is the frame of mind that was in Ugaka, the beginning time. And the reason I point that out is because in a lot of situations, there are ceremonies, there are rituals you can undertake to become a living ancestor. And every single one of them, no matter where you go in Igbo land, always have the exact same rules. The rules are you cannot lie. You cannot, just a bunch of different things, but mainly you can't lie. You can't fight publicly. You can't fight with people, those types of things. You kind of become segmented from society, you become a different type of thing. And because you are a living ancestor, you become a constant for the community or a pillar for the community where people can come to you to settle cases, come to you for guidance, come to you for wisdom. And then a lot of the things that I'm speaking about right now, you would in essence account for them. You would be the ones who is keeping traditions alive and so forth. You become a living courthouse, museum, and library all fused in one, you know. And so that was how the individuals were in Ugaka. Now, the second age, after, let me see if there are any questions. I don't want to rant too much. So that is the first age. Let's see here. Nuclear war agrees is my first time here, and I'm excited to learn. Well, we welcome you. Ndewo. Sounds exciting. What is the length of? I already got that. Uh, has all the power in the world right now. Look at who has all the power in the world right now. Does make me wonder about the end ages. Well, damn, that's not the worst of it. I agree. World seemed somewhat of a spectrum. Yes. Ikenga Nation pointed out that the world ages seem like a spectrum. Say it again. Okay, can you wait a little bit? I got you. So there's a relationship the world ages have with each other that's very interesting. To speak of them as a spectrum is also very interesting. I think that point was emphasized more in my research when I was looking into the Indian accounts. But absolutely, it is a spectrum of closeness with creation. And then as it goes, you drift further and further away from creation. So it is an underlining theme in the world ages, with each one being further from creation. Now there's another layer within them where there's I'm trying to remember the term for them. There's an actual term to describe this, where Ugaka, the first world age, is a lack of better terms, a good age. The second age, a bad age. The third age, a good age. The fourth age, a bad age, right? And when I say bad, I don't mean just like all bad things happen and so forth, but they are more defined by the problems of that time than they are by the ability of the individual or the solutions. The first and the third world ages kind of exist as mastery, ages of mastery, right? And then the second and the fourth are ages by which the thing you need to master arrives. So let me see, we've been lied to this whole time. Yeah, I agree. Ancient Greeks also have a correlating world age like the Hindu one. Very interesting. It is basically what the Roman chronology and extension European chronology descended from. Yeah, even when I was looking, they say that Europeans, have a cultural link to the Indian subcontinent. The original theory was the Aryan migration theory, but that's been disproven. But even when I was doing the research as far as that one, I saw a lot of words can be easily, if you spoke English, it was easy to kind of see, oh, okay, I see what that means, like Dwapra, which is two, dual, Dwapra, two. And that's when it said the Dharma bull stands on two legs. Treta Yuga, right? Three. That's when the Dharma bull stands on three legs. That kind of thing. I just kind of saw correlations like that. So I'm not surprised that the Greeks and the Romans and then the other indigenous or pagan Europeans also have the same thing. Now, what is also very interesting about the Greek account is I would like to, because I'm pretty familiar with Greek mythology, I would like to see where the events take place. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the age that Zeus is ruling and the age that Kronos is ruling, those two represent a change in the ages. And then I think the next one is the age of heroes, I want to say, where it's like people that are mixed with gods. And then after a while, the mixture with gods has faded so much that it's just us normal people. I could be wrong though. So we're out of old time. In Ugaka was the earth physical and or still light. So the Earth was physical in Ugaka. The Earth predates. I'm very glad you asked that, Ekundayo. So the Earth predates the humanity. So everything that predates humanity is going to already exist by the time these light beings appear, or by the time these light beings begin to activate in a human form. So the Earth was existed before, but in Ugaka and Ogachi, the Earth was dark. It was very dark. The sun existed, but it wasn't illuminating the Earth. Right? It was said that this was the time when the Earth was in a shadow. Another thing about Ugaka and towards the end of Uga, or towards the middle of Ugachi, is that the earth was also it was described as muddy. It did not take a solid form yet. In Ugaka, it was almost entirely water. The earth was almost entirely water, right? And so when you listen to a lot of folklore from the time of Ugaka, there is the idea of clearing land, or Ugachi, sorry. There's not too many from Ugaka. So in time of Ugachi, there's sometimes the idea of clearing the land so that people can live, or people emerging from water, and or things coming from water and coming onto earth, right? There's a water plays a big role in the Ugachi, because the earth was primarily covered in water in Ugachi. Now, one of the stories, one of the more popular stories, especially on the internet, is the story of Eri, who is the founder of the Umueri clan. Some people say the founder of Igbos. This is not true. The Umueri clan is a collection of, I want to say, between six. I don't want to. I'm sure they've split and things like that, but maybe say 6 to about 8 villages. That specific clan. He's the founder of that, but it was said that Eri was a light being originally, right? And funny enough, most of what I learned about Eri is also correlates with the Anyoma um, uh, uh, mythology. If you know the geography of Igbo land, you'll know what I'm kind of saying. So, but they're across the river. So Eri, according to the Anyoma people and the Umweri people, used to live in Obichuku with Chuku, which is Ugaka, right? And then he came down to earth, or he was sent down to earth by Chuku, and he's a light being, but he comes down, he takes on mortal form. Now when he lands, I've done a video on the on Eri, or it was in a longer video.
I don't want to eat my food.
You don't want to eat your food?
Yeah.
Okay, just play your tablet a little bit, okay? So when Eri comes down to Earth, gains human form, and but when he lands, the Earth is completely covered in water. Or the land he was given was covered in water, and he was then Chuku then sent a person from Oka. Oka is a village that is a town now. It's a capital now, actually. But we say village just colloquially in Igbo culture. I don't know. Just there's a history to that. But Oka is a village that is known for smithing. So they called an Oka person to come to where Eri was, and to use his bellows, the bellows from his furnace, or the heat from his furnace, to clear the water so that that Eri would have land to live. Now Eri did not need to eat food, which was another hint that Eri comes from Ugaka, the age of Ugaka. This story is a transition story, right? A lot of people try to connect it with like Hebrews and stuff like that. No, that's not what's going on. So this story is a transition story, and Eri comes down, and he doesn't need to eat from the earth. He eats from the sky, right? In some tellings of the story, he eats fish from the sky, right? It comes. He just calls on the Chuku. The fish comes to him. In other stories, he eats. They describe it as manna. Now, after some time, Eri dies, and his son Nri. Hold on, boy. And his son Nri tries to call upon Chuku to get food, and it doesn't happen. Now, this means that the split has happened. Nri is of Ugachi, the era that I'm going to talk about now, is of Ugachi. Eri is of Ugaka. Unri is then instructed by Chuku that he must eat from the earth. And in order to eat from the earth, he has to sacrifice his first son and his first daughter and plant them into the ground. And if he plants them into the ground, something will emerge. Now, he's never seen agriculture before. And plus, to ask somebody to sacrifice their child, that's beyond uh, what would be reasonable for anybody. So Unri refuses at first. Unri then goes through a period of starvation. Now, this is the introduction of hunger, right? As a person of Ugachi, it starts feeling hunger, that type of thing. So then finally, Unri agrees, plants the two children's heads. Well, before planting the children's heads, he says that they must have Ichi marks. Can they have Ichi marks? And then Chuku says, all right, no, I'm sorry. Chuku, he doesn't ask for it. Chuku says, okay, I'll give them Ichi. Now, Ichi are solar marks that are carved on the head. Now, when you have an Ichi marks, that means you're a living ancestor. That means you're a living ancestor. And in burying that person, you have assured, even if you don't give the person a funeral, that person will reincarnate, right? Because one, in order to have those types of marks, you must undergo a ritual death. And then two, it is the idea of, I've talked about in some other videos where some like a burial, the act of burial is an act of inviting a person back into the world. This is every culture now. Some cultures have forgotten this, right? But if you look, and I mean that's not every single culture, but a lot of cultures have forgotten this. But if you look at what's happening in a burial, that's actually what it is. So it's an act of celebrating a person and welcoming them back into the world. So or welcoming their essence to stay. Right, so he buries the heads. Once they have the Ichi, that means he has celebrated them. They're living ancestors, so they're going to reincarnate. And so yams emerge. He begins eating the yams, so on and so forth. So now Nri is a person in Ugachi. And as a person who then did what Chuku said, Chuku gives Nri an offer, right? This offer means that he has a jurisdiction. The next video I'm going to do is offer explained. I'm going to be going into the offer. I've mentioned the offer in just about every video. So I'm going to be explaining exactly what it is and going into the science of it. And I'm also going to explain what's called the spiritual offer or offer more, the thing that you are born with, the offer that you are born with within you, right? So he gives him an offer, which is another sign that this is an Ugachi story, because the offer emerges in Ugachi, right? Those types of things. Any type of arushi, any type of the Igbo cosmology, the thing we call cosmology or dinani, all of that stuff emerged in Ugachi. Now, what is Ugachi? Ugachi is the age where these light beings, which are us, realize that we are something separate from the universe and we are something separate from each other. And it is called the age of self-awareness. We begin to realize where we're at. We begin to have these human needs, hunger, sleep, and things like that. And then death, in some accounts, says that death catches up with us. Death catches up with us in this era. Now, the reason I say catches up with us is because it is said that death was introduced to the world in Ugaka, because it was released from the Nechuku's bag. And this bag was called Abiwe. Say again?
I'm done drinking.
You're done drinking? Nice.
Because I drink it a lot.
Amen. Okay. So it was released from Nechuku or Kamusu's bag, which was known as Abiwe, the bag of sorrow or the bag of pain. It was released from this bag and it caught up to humanity in Ugachi. So now we begin experiencing death. You want to come down?
Yeah, because I'm done drinking.
Okay, stay up there just a little bit. You can play tablet a little.
I'm playing tablet with Daddy.
Just hold on, let me finish. So as I was saying, death catches up with us in Ugachi. So we begin in Ugachi, the second age. We begin to have these human needs. Namdi. Wow. So we begin to have these human needs and these material needs and so forth. This is also the age that we began to cover our flesh, first with raffia and foliage. And that is why if you look at a lot of masquerades, they are made of foliage, right? This foliage or the raffia implies that they are either from Ugachi or it is signifying that this is an ancient concept or person or spirit that is being represented at the moment. So when you see a lot of raffia, a lot of foliage on a masquerade, it is a symbol of often it is a symbol of age. Namdi Chere, a good friend of mine, Onye Mobi, who runs the Igbo Cyber Shrine, also pointed out that a lot of them are celebrating warriors, and a lot of the warriors would wear camouflage, and the camouflage in a dense forest would look like foliage. So when you see a lot of the masquerades that are kind of some of the more violent ones, especially in his area where he's from, some of the more violent ones have a lot of foliage on them, and what he said added up. His theory added up.
I don't want to eat.
You don't want to eat? You don't have to eat. You don't have to eat.
I drink a lot of it.
Say it again.
I drink a lot of it.
Amen. Good job. Okay, you can play tablet. Okay, you don't have to eat. Okay.
Yeah.
You do what you want.
So
Okay.
I can come down.
Okay, just sharing. So as I was saying, so no, okay, give me 1 second. Let me settle this. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, now you can come down, but you have to be quiet, okay?
Okay. Now I can play it into there.
There we go. Okay.
I'm playing some people.
No problem. All right, we got a guest star. Come over here. We got a guest star. Let's see if we can do this. So, so in Ugachi, a lot of these material needs, the need for clothing, food, water, shelter, emerge.
Daddy, don't be loud, okay?
Okay, I won't be loud. Thank you. So the need for food, water, and shelter emerge. And in the end of this era, we gain a mastery of these things, right? And part of that mastery we gained was by developing what we now call, I'm going to turn the volume off. So part of the mastery we gained was in, where are we at there? Part of the mastery that we gained was in learning.
It's down there, okay?
Okay, all right, sure. Was in mastering what we call Odinani, what we're now calling Odinani or Igbo cosmology. The phrase I use, no, not these, has to be off. If you want to see here, it has to be off. Okay. So the mastery of the esoteric or the spiritual arts is
no,
what.
No.
Okay, if you want to, do you want to go to the living room and play tablet? If you're going to be here, tablet has to be quiet. Mm-hmm. So the mastery of the esoteric or spiritual arts was what happened in Ugachi. This was when the Arushi were built. A lot of, when I began, I have a video called Osu Explained. It's a documentary explaining the Osu title or the Osu system. And that video begins in Ugachi. It begins in Ugachi. And if you follow the sequence of the video, you will actually see where these world ages appear and come from. Right? So individuals known as the Osu, or who are now known as Osu, they have, in every region, they have a real name, but the general name, somewhat derogatory, so I do apologize, is Osu. So these individuals activated the first Arushi. The reason these Arushi were activated is because, again, the connection to the universe and Chukwu was broken. So in order to learn how to survive, people then tried to rebuild that connection and reconnect somehow. And certain individuals had either the awareness, be it of spirit or intellect, or I mean both. What's the difference, right? Is they had that within them to build these things that allowed you to reconnect to these spirits, right? So you're connected to the earth again. You're connected to the sky, Igwe, and the earth. You're connected to Igwe again, connected to all these things, and then you're receiving direct wisdom and knowledge and learning from them. You're figuring things out from them. I have a video called the Why is the Marketplace Sacred in Igbo Cosmology? Because in every single village you go to, the most sacred place is the market, not even the main Arushi, it's the market, right? And in Ugachi, what ended up happening was in Ugaka, right? In Ugaka, there was the Arushi began to compete with each other, right? And this is another story, a transition story, right? So they were living in peace, and then all of a sudden they became jealous of each other, or the Abara. So when I talk about Abara, I'm talking about Amadioha, Igwe, Agon, Ekwensu, all these different spirits or forces, right? A lot of you guys are familiar with Ifa, the Yoruba system. They know them as Orisha, I believe. So the forces of the universe became jealous of each other, started to compete with each other, that type of thing. And this risk, because Nechugu or Chugu, they're the same thing. Nechugu or Chugu risks being split apart by this conflict. So they're looking at each other, which one's more important, who's superior, who, so on and so forth. And this risks splitting the universe apart because they're no longer working in harmony. Or the forces, if you want to look at it in the concrete terms, the forces of the universe stopped working in harmony with each other. So Chukwu devised a plan. Chukwu paired each of the Abara with a man and a woman, like a husband and a wife. He paired them together. He then gave them a segment of the universe that is theirs, right? So you have a segment, you have a segment, you have a segment, you have it, and that type of thing. And then in the middle of all these segments, Chukwu built a market so that what one Abara has, and needs from another, they can meet at this place and exchange and maintain equilibrium, universal equilibrium. And for this reason, the market is the most sacred place in Igbo cosmology. Now, in Ugachi, in the beginning of Ugachi, human beings, after this is immediately after, or not, let me not say immediately, but the story of this has an interesting parallel to the Eri story. Because after Eri or Unri figures out how to farm, the humans or the people of that time, the Ndiegede, right? Ndiegede are our ancestors that lived in Ugachi, or our ancestors that lived in Ugachi. So Ndiegede, when you hear a lot of prayers, they'll say Ndimbu na Ndiegede, right? And Ndimbu, the first people, and Ndiegede, which are the people that come after the first people. Egede is to listen. These are the people that figured out Igbo cosmology, or Odinani. They're the ones that figured out how to tap back into the universe. So Ndiegede were, just, they would eat all their food and they wouldn't know what to do next, right? So the Abara came down onto Earth and they showed them, or they had they had a meal with them. They had a meal with the human beings. But the human beings saw that each Abara would take a little from their own and trade it with another, and another would trade it. And they saw them trading with each other until all sides were balanced. And then they returned back to where they came from. So human beings from this act learned about the market, right? So in Ugachi, the market is developed, the idea of trade and market, the idea of trade and market is developed, the idea of agriculture, and the idea of spirituality, or the idea of cosmology and science, the ability to utilize the universe, right? So let me see if there are some questions. There's a big blue arrow here. We've lied to Ugaka from, I guess. Yes. Living ancestor sounds a lot like the role of Osu. A living ancestor is the role of an Osu. So, Lance, I'm glad you pointed that out. Absolutely. But Osu is also a blood designation. So it's like inherited, right? Like that type of thing. For the Diala, right, there are living ancestor titles that are not connected to the Osu. But if you look very closely, right, they are somewhat, I know appropriation has like a negative tinge in American culture. They are somewhat, so I'm not saying this negatively, but they are somewhat appropriations of the Osu. You understand? So the first one, the oldest one, is the Nze title, right? The Nze title. After the Nze title comes the Ozo title. Those two titles are titles where an individual becomes a living ancestor. And for women, there's Oduenyi. Oduenyi is a title where she becomes a living ancestor. A woman becomes a living ancestor, right? So, but if you look at the rules for these titles, there are a lot of parallels with the Osu thing. And then if you look at the rituals for activating them, they are connected back to the Osu thing. So Lance, I'm glad you pointed that out. That was smart. Pleased to learn from you. I appreciate you. Thanks for your support. Said this is depressing. Oh man, Ross, man, I'm sorry, bro. Yeah, man. When I was reading this, I was like, damn, this is very pessimistic. And then there are things within it. I usually keep my own take out of it, and then if I want to share my own take, I'll say, I think, or this is what I think, that type of thing. I'm not really the whole Ugazi. There's a little more pessimism in about Ugazi than need be, right? But that's a whole different topic. Are Igbo one of the oldest tribes? Yes, and I say that because the archaeological record, there's the archaeological sites in Igbo land are the oldest in West Africa, and among the oldest in the world. And the sites implied mass settlement. Like a lot of people were living in that place at once. I'm gonna need to be a little more quiet. So a lot of people were living in that place at once. So the archaeology, and then I have some things about like genetics and genealogy in my library on patreon.com. So if you're a patron, you have access to my e-library. It has a whole bunch of folders and like hundreds of documents within it, right? I need to sit down and count how many are in there one day. And I add like at least 4, 2, 3 every week. So when you look at the genetic record too, it says there's a lot to imply that people living in Igbo land have been there longer than the other people in West Africa. So yes, it's one of the oldest cultures in Africa. Who plays video games? We need an Igbo version of the Age of Mythology. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. I took Ancestry and my results were 99% Igbo. Damn. Is Igbo one of the original bloodlines? Yes, I think maybe you were the one I asked earlier. Yes, very, very old bloodline. I also did a rare genes test and it led back to Amrana dynasty. I don't know about that. Maybe you can share more on the Amrana dynasty, but I don't know too much about that. But 99% is no joke. Wow. For somebody that an African in diaspora or African American, that is incredible. So, and I bet if I click on your picture, I can probably tell what village you're from, but I don't think I can click on pictures here. If for my African or Black American friends, African American friends, I can usually tell by looking at somebody where they're from. But this is weird. Like of all the superpowers in the world, that's I guess that's the one I have. But I can usually tell. So some people be like, "Oh, I just found out I'm Yoruba." I'm like, "Oh, I could have told you that," But I think so. If you don't want to waste your money on a gene test, just hit me up. I'll let you know. How long is this? Again, Black Americans don't know we're already a nation of people. Yes, Black Americans are a nation of people. Absolutely. That concept gets challenged unnecessarily. It doesn't make sense. But absolutely, it is a unique nation unto itself with roots and ties and connections to different places. But there's a singular movement through history of a singular people and singular culture. So absolutely, yes, it is a tribe unto itself. Black American with Igbo ancestry as well. I'm from Gabon and Angola, and a speck from Kenya. DNA is so funny. Yeah, what's funny? A lot of I know two Igbo people that have done DNA tests, and they always have like a speck of Kenya too. Now, this is my own theory. But there are a group of cultures in the Kenya, Uganda, and kind of South Sudan area, the Lao cultures. And I remember I had a coworker. His name was Joseph, and he's like that. Yeah, Igbos are related to us. And I'm like, there's no way. This is I was younger and that type of thing. I was like, there's no way. It's too far apart. I thought this was one of these theories of, we came from Egypt kind of thing. And he's like, no, Igbos are related to us. There's a guy in my country on the news whose name is, I want to say Okafo. And I was like, okay, probably a phonetic coincidence, right? Just similar sounds coming together, but having entirely different meanings. And maybe that's the case. And that type of thing, But I didn't doubt it too much, like, I guess to his face, because I'd be kind of rude. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I started looking into it. And man, the parallels were unreal. Very recently, I went to a girl on YouTube who was speaking a certain language within the Lao group. And a lot of the stuff she was saying, like, you can see where there's a connection. You can absolutely see where there's a connection and things like that. So the kind of the Great Lakes region, Lao, I want to say maybe definitely Uganda, where my friend Joseph was from, Kenya for sure, that type of thing. There is a connection there. So I think that's where all those specks of Kenya keep coming up in a lot of Igbo people's DNA. But you, Homegirl Healer, are the third Igbo person that has said that. So that's where my theory comes from, is my friend Joseph. And we got a donation. Say hi, Namdi. Namdi, do you want to clap?
Yeah.
Okay, ring the clapper. Hey, thank you very much, Urenna.
Thank you.
Yes, Namdi says thank you.
We're done.
Say ekelemgi.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much for the donation, Urenna. Okay, somebody tagged, did they give you a tribe? Okay, I see another one. Are the overall themes of these ages, for example, the progressive separation from the creator through the progress from the ethereal to material, the will of the creator? So, one video, are these themes the will of the creator? Is this how it is supposed to be? The answer is yes, right? There's a video that I would recommend everybody check out. It is Ne Chuku Explained. Ne Chuku Explained. Or Eke Explained, right? In Igbo cosmology, we say God is Chineke. I say Chuku a lot. for some reason, but it's Chineke. Chineke is God, right? That's God. Chuku is an element of God. It's an aspect of God, or a face of God, right? But Chineke is God. Now, what's the difference between Chineke and Chuku? Chi is one thing. Eke is another. And when you see N-A, na, in the Igbo language, it's a connector. It means and, right? So chi and eke. Chi is chi. There's a chi explained video that goes into that. And then eke is creation, right? So chi is or eke is the product of the chi, that type of thing. So everything that is happening, right? This is the best way to put it. Everything that is happening right now has already been conceived. This is like a cosmic rerun. That is, it's in the example I think I've used it in 3 videos now is taking a pebble. I'll have to use my bitter cola. Is taking a pebble and throwing it into a stream, right? And then you see the ripples moving out, the ripples moving out. Now, the impact that is causing the ripples has already happened, right? The impact that is causing the ripples has already happened. That impact is the chi. So and then the ripples will take the shape of that impact. So all of the ripples will move in a circle, right, or in a pattern that suggests that it was impacted by something 3-dimensional, which ends up being a circle on a flat surface, right? So everything, creation itself has happened, and if you watch the Chuku explain video, you'll see that there was a big explosion, right? And that explosion caused this rippling or spiraling, as the DB explained to me, our in-house DBA for my patrons who have spoken to him and things like that. So the spiraling, the spiraling that came out is a reflection of what has already happened. So this is all replay. This is all replay of what's happening, and that distancing from the original source, from Obi Chuku, is just like the ripples in a lake, just moving out, moving out, moving out. That is the nature of creation, according to our ancestors. Now, it also correlates with the explanation of creation in contemporary science, right? The idea that everything began at a single point, there was a big bang, it moved, things started moving out, and from there we got the universe and all that, and so forth. So it correlates as well, with some differences in how each phenomena is described and what each culture is willing to say they know and that type of thing. African ancestry gives tribe, haplogroup, and DNA marker. Yes, chai spray money. Yeah, Urena done spray money for us. Cool, cool. So why hasn't Nigeria spoke of the Igbo and diaspora? Um trying to understand that question. Uh hmm. Nigeria and Igbo people don't have a good relationship. So Nigeria as a concept and Igbo people do not have a good relationship. So it is going to take a long time before Nigeria does anything pro Igbo, right? Also, there's this thing about, like, Ghana has this like year of the return kind of thing, and Nigeria doesn't, right? Nigeria is very careful to make sure its population percentages don't change, because there's a lot of politics tied to it. There's a lot of politics. People lose their lives over it. It's no joke. So that type of thing. So Nigeria is not going to do like a year of return, if that's what you're talking about, that type of thing. It would have to be Igbo people on the other side who reach out to Igbo people in diaspora. And attempts have been made. There's in Virginia, I believe they built an Igbo village there and that type of thing. And then, like, for Igbos in diaspora, to my knowledge, I haven't been there. You can go there if you're, Black, African American, Caribbean, that type of thing. They can give you a ceremony, a formal welcoming, a name, and all that stuff. So that there's a site in Virginia that exists, but anything like that would have to be done by like individual or private Igbo people. And I myself am doing it by presenting these lessons on a public forum. So yeah. Let's see here. Ugaka to Ugazi, Stone Age to Iron Age, Paleolithic, Neolithic, Ancient, Classic, Modern Age. That is a very interesting interpretation of it. That is a very, very interesting answer. I thought about it too. I was like, where do these things fall historically? One thing I will say is that the African Iron Age is different from the Eurasian Iron Age, right? So when Eurasia discovers iron, by the time Eurasia discovers iron, based on the archaeological record, Africa had it for tens and thousands of years prior, right? So there is no Bronze Age in, for example, there's no Bronze Age in Africa. There's no, and I don't think you said stone to iron, so you're actually still on point, that type of thing. So there's no Bronze Age; they went straight to iron, that kind of thing. So which is what is believed to have spurred what's called the Bantu migrations. Nimble, probably South Central hunter gatherers, perhaps. Of course, Kiosan pygmies. Probably not Kiosan, maybe pygmies. There's a lot of, especially not as much in Igbo cosmology, but if you go further west in West Africa from the Igbo point, a lot our cosmologies are very, very related, identical in my opinion. A lot of those cultures will argue like they'll fight if you say that, but it's identical, that kind of thing. And then, but as you go further west, there's this emphasis on the fact that pygmies taught them what they know. There's this emphasis on that. I think we talked about it on the last live. So Ross, who's in here, who's also a patron and is a tier patron, so y'all got to respect him. He pointed out to me there was a video he had sent me in Ivory Coast, and it was the ceremony by which a Dibia witnesses Agon, right? Or a Dibia witnesses the mind that by which healing comes from. And that ceremony was entering a trance, going into the forest, and then encountering pygmies with dreadlocks, who then teach you what medicines are what. You understand? And you see a lot of this in a lot of the different West. That I'm trying to figure out the lighting. I usually use another room, but I thought I'd use this one today. So, but I don't like this shadow and all that stuff. So, we'll work it out. Can you elaborate on what a living ancestor is? Absolutely. So, as you know, in a lot of African systems, authority is derived from the ancestor, right? The ancestors are the our source of truth. You understand? That is where you go for truth. That is where you go for order. That's where you go for community, right? The ancestors are what holds us as a people together. The ancestors are also our connection to Chuku and those forces that are beyond. So a lot of the things that are to come to us through the ancestors, right? They are our power. That's the source of our powers, our ancestors. Now, when we say a living ancestors, there are ceremonies. The thing is about Odinani or Igbo cosmology is that it is a science, right? So once a body of knowledge is understood, just like with science, you can tweak it and move it this and this way and do different things with it. One of the things you can do is to make a person a living ancestor, right? Now, in order to become a living ancestor, you're going to take depending on what area of Igbo land you're from, you're going to take a multitude of titles. The two most popular are Nze and Ozo. There are others such as Okonko, Omabe. There's a whole bunch of them, right? But what these things are, they are societies. They are specific. I'm speaking about men. I'll speak about the women, how women can do it after. But these are men's societies or men's title societies. And these particular societies preserve a body of knowledge within themselves or preserve the ancestral order within themselves. So they know how our ancestors lived. They know how to make this thing happen, right? Now, in order to become an Nze, not traditionally, like this is the before before people got soft. In order to become an Nze, you would carve the Ichi marks on your head, right? There's an entire ceremony that goes with it. You would pour usually pepper and blood or just pepper water into your eyes, and then you would stare into the sun. There's there's a whole bunch that goes with it. It's a very painful, arduous process, right? Now, today, most people don't want to do that, so they got like hats and stuff to replace it. But there's a whole bunch of things a ceremony you go to. And in that ceremony, you are invoking the spirit of your ancestors, in that you become a living ancestor. Now, as a living ancestor, there are certain rules about food that you can't eat. There are certain rules about your conduct in public. There are very specific rules about how you dress, right? So I believe when a lot of the Europeans came to, when a lot of the Europeans came to Igbo land, this facet of the culture is what made them say, "Oh, these people are Hebrews." Because one thing that the Jewish culture and the Igbo culture have in common, on a genuine level, is that there are people within the Jewish culture whose role is to be a living ancestor. These are the Hasidics or the Hasids. I think I'm saying the name right. The Hasidic people, right? So every single thing a Hasidic person is wearing is very specific to what is taught in the Talmud, right? It is very specific to how the ancestors lived. It is very specific to the commandments of God. Now, Igbo culture and Nze also has that same responsibility. And Ozo also has that same responsibility. I don't know what the name is. Somebody who's Osu also has that same title. A lot of our Izes and well, not the Izes, that's a whole different thing, but a lot of traditional rulers in African cultures, that's who they are. They are a living ancestor. Like, so you go to Yoruba culture, you'll see the Oba or the Alafin and those types of people. If you go to Edo culture, again, you see the Oba, all these different titles. Those people are living ancestors. And as living ancestors, they have invoked a spirit of a living ancestor. There's a very specific way they are to live lest they be destroyed, right? So that spirit will destroy you if you're not able to live up to its account or able to live up to it. It also ties into the Ofo. Now you have a different Ofo at this point. For an Nze, I know Nze very well because it's the main title in my area, right, where I'm from. You understand? So for an Nze has to take an oath to the land or the central arashi of that land to live this very specific life. So it's a vow of dedication, right? In the Christian culture, this thing is mimicked by monks and nuns. You understand? But they take an entirely different role. Now, once you're a living ancestor, you can do. There's a multitude of duties you have within the culture to do. But you are the one that holds the community together. When there's a dispute, you can be summoned as a judge. For example, when there's a dispute, you can be summoned as a judge. When somebody needs to speak for the community, you're the one who's going to speak for the community. That type of thing. There's just a multitude of things that you do because you have taken this particular vow. Your character has been announced and is bounded to the land. So that type of thing. So Igbo who do DNA tests have considerable Kiosan. I would not be surprised. A lot of people in my mom's family kind of look like Usher. and, and Usher looks like he has Kiosan ancestry or is from my mom's village. So I would not be surprised. But yeah, I think a lot of people have Kiosan in them. There's a lot to be uncovered as far as Igbo history goes, or the general history of Africa as a whole. That's one of the reasons I love to my bone marrow what I do, because it puts me at the cutting edge of a lot of things that have not been looked at. And so yeah, you are right. A lot of people do have Kiosan. I see a lot of Kenya. I see more Kenyan than Kiosan though. That kind of thing. Do you think that the world ages have to do with the constant expansion of the universe? Ross, yes. Again, with the Eke phenomena, the chi has done everything it's going to do, and then from there it expands, and so yes, that does have to do with the expansion of the universe, or there is a parallel with the expansion of the universe. Is this live? I've never been able to catch a live show. Laura Queen, yes, this is live. You are live. Hold on, hold the noise, man, for me, please. The noise for when you have organic. Okay, no, Brenda, no problem. Funny, I thought that everything.
Live, okay.
Hmm?
I don't want to be live.
You don't want to be live?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Do you want to come down, or do you want to stay here?
I'm watching it.
You're watching. Okay, no problem. Then you're gonna be live. So, where was I? Yeah, is that kind of thing. So, and then Ross, you followed up. Everything is actually Chineke. You nailed it exactly. The AK part doesn't get emphasized enough. That type of thing, but everything is Chineke, and then Chineke are the same thing. It's hard to explain, but they're the same phenomena. So when I say Chuku, I'm saying okay Chuku and Ne Chuku as one. When I say Chuku, I'm saying both. You understand, which is Chineke. You understand? So yes, we are all Chineke. We are all intention and manifestation. Eke is manifestation, Chi is intention, right? So that type of thing. Man, this is you guys are really going hard on the DNA.
I don't want to be live, okay?
You don't want to be live?
Yeah.
No, I have to be live, my boy. I have to be live. I think I lost my place. Hold on, wait. Love your channel. It's so informative for us African Americans. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was one of the that was one of my goals. So I'm glad that we're getting there. Chinaeke. Laura Queen, it is Chi N-A and then EKE. Chineke. Chineke. Eke is EKE. I have a video called Eke Explained or Nechuku Explained, which goes into that. By the way, I've only described 2 world ages. I'm going to describe the other 2 too. I just want to catch up on the comments and the questions. Can women take the Azal title? No. Okay, I'm glad you said that. Okay, so women then have a set of titles onto themselves. Women don't take the Azal title, but if your husband is Azal, you are Azal. You understand? So if your husband has made this vow to be this person, you also make this, like, you guys make it together. Your husband has to consult you before taking the title. If you're not willing to make the like go through that change of lifestyle, or so for some people, it's not a change of lifestyle. Most of the time, if you have that title, that's who you've been the whole time, right? You guys go into it together. Things like Ichi, for example, if your husband takes the Ichi title, then you also can, if you want, to get those marks. There was that page, the page Uru, that used to post a lot of old pictures from Igbo land, and you'd see a lot of children with the Ichi marks. And it's like, how could a child be a living ancestor? Well, the thing is, their their father in the household has taken that title, and so that makes them nze obere, so they can take the title if they want to, right? It resonates through the whole family. Now, for women, there are sets of titles based on your area, right? One of the most popular and well preserved is the Omo title, right? So the Omo title is popular on the eastern, or I'm sorry, the western end of the Niger River. So this is Anyama, the Anyama communities, Ika, Abol, these different places. They have a title called Aomo. Now, an Omo title means, I have a video called Omo. I have a video. That's my new catchphrase. There's a title called Omo Explained, and that kind of goes into what Omo is. But an Omo is a mother or a matron in the community, right? The Omo is the leader of women. And when I say that, I want to emphasize leader of women doesn't mean it's like a subdivision of like general leadership. Igbo society exists as a dual. So there is the men's society and the women's society. And they don't cross over and make rules for each other, right? So in this particular part of Igbo land, the Obi is the head of the men's society. The Omo is the head of the women's society, right? And an example of how they don't cross over is that before the Obi enters the market, the women control and own the market in Igbo land. Women also control and own pathways, roads. Any road is owned by women, which maybe if I remember, I'll get to a story about that. But modern roads are not, but the traditional pathways are owned by women, that kind of thing. So before the OB enters the market, he has to pause there and get the permission of the Omo to enter. Now, in modern day, we've translated OB as king, right? OB is not a king. He's the head of the men's. He's a living ancestor, and if anything, more of a spiritual figurehead than an owner of the land, the way a king would be, right? So Omo is a title that is also taken by women. It is, to my knowledge, at what has been taught to me, I'm not from the area, it is taken by, it can be, is specifically, okay, so the head Omo has to be from a certain bloodline. I don't know what the history of the bloodlines are, but they have to be from a certain bloodline, that type of thing. And so that's one title that can be taken by women. Another is Oduenyi, which parallels the Omo often. But what you'll often see with women's titles is the use of ivory. The use of ivory is a big thing in women's titles. The holding of the Oduenyi, which is called a horsetail whip, that type of thing. Now, I have a personal theory, and I said it in my Nature Explained, is that thing symbolizes a comet, right? Because there's a connection. Or Eke is a very complicated concept, but there's a connection between comets and Nechuku, and I think that thing symbolizes a comet just based on different things because they share the same name, comets or Uduatsu, or can be called Uduatsu, and that thing is also called Uduatsu, that kind of thing. So, or not Noduin, yeah, Uduatsu. So anyways, yeah, so there's these women's titles. There's the use of ivory is always a recurring theme. The use of the horsetail whip is a recurring theme, and the idea of not walking, the idea of not walking. So when a lot of these women have these titles, before they get up and walk, somebody has to hold them in both hands and walk with them, that type of thing, right? And it's kind of a you have reached such a status that you don't even need to walk anymore, kind of thing. The Oba of Benin also does that as well, right? The when the Oba of Benin is walking, you'll see two people holding his arms on both sides, that type of thing. It's an honorific, that type of thing. And usually when women reach that status, they are very, very, very old. Now, a woman can take a man's title, right? Because if she ritually becomes a man, right, and that's gonna that maybe that throws people off. But if she ritually, because again, once you know the science, you can now start tweaking it, right, and making things with it. If she ritually becomes a man, a woman can take a man's title, right? And one of the things that is kind of well known about Igbo culture is the concept of what do they call them? Female husbands and that type of thing, right? So in becoming a man, they can now marry wives. They now have wives, and they are the husband of the house and that type of thing. But that is usually, I want to say, post-menopausal for most places in Igbo land. And in Anyoma, there's an emphasis too with the Omo has to be post-menopausal. Has to be somebody after menopause. It's not for young women. This is not for, and then Omo, your husband has to be dead. So this is not for, this is for, there are specifics to it. But yes, there are titles for women. Typically, women don't take the Ozo title. And then I think that if a woman is ritually made into a man, there's a limit to how far she can climb in the Ozo hierarchy, that type of thing, because it is a man's title. So your picture looks like you have everything folds. I have a dad and a granddad. What are those folds like? I mean, for lack of better terms, like eyes, like an Asian person. It sounds so ignorant. Chinese. Okay, let me read your whole thing before I start talking. An Igbo person was in China, and they were asked if they have Chinese answers because yeah, a lot of Igbo people have like slanted eyes. Again, like I said, I can tell when I look at you have slanted eyes or the fold, that type of thing. But it's not exclusive to Igbo people. You'll see that throughout Africa. A lot of Hausa people have it too. It's not uncommon, right? The gene or whatever causes it seem to have recurred a lot in Asia and is a differentiating factor between Asians and within Eurasia, Asians and Europeans. So it gets emphasized as an Asian thing because that's how we can, oh, that's the difference, so on and so forth, right? But a lot of Africans have it too, and it just throughout, it doesn't matter the tribe most of the time. It's just a recurring thing. I think my son has a big time. Just different members of my family. We have a relative we call China. That kind of thing, slanted eyes, all that stuff. So, Kyo-san, okay. I think we've said enough about Kyo-san. Laura Queen, all right, yay! Now, do you want to clap? Woo! You want to say Ekeleremgi? Say it louder now. Say it with your chest, boy. Ekeleremgi. Yes, Ekeleremgi. Laura Queen, thank you so much for the donation. Is there a question attached? By the way, if you guys, I mean, I've seen traditionally with lives, they'll like donate, then ask the question. So like, if you have things you want to say or that type of thing, when you donate, go ahead and do that. I think I'll try to read everybody's comments just in general. That might be annoying, but once they become too much, we'll probably switch over to like the donation question type of format as is traditional with YouTube. Dalu Derek, okay, appreciate it. Dalu ne, igade. How does the theory of evolution fit with these ages? Because from my understanding of all I have and am learning from your videos, it doesn't. Can and will you explain? Yeah, I don't see how I don't see where the theory of evolution fits. So yeah, I don't see the fit. So it's that's, I guess that's a part where cosmology and science do this. I don't see where it fits. Perhaps. No, let me not even do that. I don't want to speculate and create a web of speculations because I'm not. I don't. This channel isn't for speculating. I want to put the information out and I want to put the knowledge out and that type of thing for people to do whatever they want with it or whatever they can with it, whatever resonates with them, that type of thing. So if I start adding my own little opinions and speculations and all that stuff, I'll muddy it up. So I want to keep it out. Chi is masculine. Ago came from chi. Mo is feminine. Eke is feminine. Yes and no. So chi is masculine, eke is feminine as it is described. Agon is both. Agon is feminine and masculine. Agon is two-headed, right? So there's Nagon, the one mother Agon that looks within, or that is within, and then Okagon, with the man Agon, the male Agon that looks without, right? So they are two-headed like that. That's how I always try to symbolize them. And then more is whatever the person is, more is whatever the person is. So your more is a reflection of you, or I'm not saying that way. Your more is you. So it can't be masculine or feminine. So I would say ago and more are very variables, with agon being androgynous, or androgynous would be a word for it, and then chi being or a more being a reflection of the individual person. And I don't like to say reflection because it gives the idea that more is a shadow or something. More is actually a part of you. It's as much you as the part of you that you think you are. If that makes sense. One thing about agon that is interesting, though, because it is androgynous, it is said that men who become debias are, and no offense to anybody, are not as masculine. They're not masculine men, right? And then women who become is and y, which is the same thing, they are more masculine, right? So the person who is affected by agon drifts more towards the middle, and has a balance of both of those things, right? And if you see a lot of is and y, they're they're tough, like they're very, like, that kind of thing, that type of thing. What's if you look into a lot of for those who are of the diaspora or descend from the diaspora, if you look at a lot of the histories of these medicine women who end up leading these rebellions, we can go from I won't call her a medicine woman because I don't know her full history, but Harriet Tubman, for example, there's always this kind of emphasis that they acted like a dude or they acted like a man. You understand? There's always that emphasis, And then if you go back home, like my wife comes from a long line of very powerful DBOs on both sides. And it was said that they were able to transform themselves from one gender to the other, that type of thing, very regularly. So Agon has that nature. And this is a personal observation. I've noticed a lot of people that are not, conventionally feminine or conventionally masculine, do tend to gravitate, or from my own observation, gravitate towards the esoteric arts, no matter what culture it is, very often. So I find that interesting, especially on the male end. So interesting. I wonder what haplogroup most Igbos belong to. I have it, Alicia. I don't know if you're a patron, but I have a folder on Patreon. It's patreon.com/the medicine shell. And then if you're a patron at any level, you have access to my research library. There's a genetics folder, and in the genetics folder, I think it says it, but it's not something I know off the top of my head. I read about male daughters and female husbands. Yes, Chika. That's what I was referencing. Thank you for this. I'm gonna have to look up Muzungu. It's fantastic. Okay, your Lance is responding to somebody else. Portuguese said that when they came to Africa and America, they didn't know what had value, like fabrics, etc. They say that high-ranking women in those societies taught them those things. Okay. My entire family has slanted eyes. Yeah, a lot of Igbo people have slanted, or like somebody told me I had Care Bear eyes. Which I don't know what that means, but a lot of Igbo people have. I can usually, like, if I'm looking at somebody like Omar Epps is Yoruba. If he does a test, he's gonna be Yoruba. Yoruba people's eyes are more open, like they're big, that kind of thing. And Igbo people's eyes are like smaller, like that kind of thing. It's just some weird eugenics thing I noticed, but it's just there. That kind of thing. So we have there are Igbo people with big eyes. It's not like 100% science type of thing. It's kind of like this particular gene seems to recur more in this group, that kind of thing, that type of thing. So yeah. So West Africa is the Sufi, Tuareg, Berber, Moor. Oh, I'm LC. Man, y'all are really going in. Maybe I should do a video on haplogroups and genetics. You guys are really breaking this down in this chat. I didn't know that would be. Damn, we've been talking for a while. Evolution is fake. Carla, I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I was surprised to find Portuguese on my Irish side, Turkey, Iranian. Interesting. Moors, maybe the Phoenicians and trade routes. That is very interesting. I think you get a
Daddy,
lot more mixing in Eurasia. I've noticed. What's up, boy?
I buy a lot of cars
Yes,
to
sir.
get 30 stars.
Good job. Guama. Mhm. Yeah, you get a lot of those mixes in equipygmies. I wouldn't call them leprechauns. Black women are naturally powerful and strong. You say, homegirl healer, you're right. Oh yeah, come take OG. You have spoken well.
Oh, I want some.
Hey, you want some? No, you're not ready for all that.
So it's right.
Pygmies are 12. More haplo group talk, that kind of thing. Okay, so wow, it's so accurate about DBNAs and why drifting towards androgyny. It's like how our own bodies regulate itself to try to reach homeostasis. Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it. So yeah, it's something I've personally noticed. So that when it was told to me as that, yeah, this is what it is, I was very very surprised. The only is and why I ever knew she snuffed tobacco. she she would sit there with her kind of like her legs open like dimpa, she would snuff tobacco very regularly, that type of thing, very like tough, or she was known for that toughness. So it is interesting that it is correlated for in the research and in what is said and then what can be observed by the eye. So anyways, the third age is then ugangu. Ugangu. Ugamu is the era of the sun. Amu is sun, right? This is said to be the era where the world became bright and sunny in Ugamu. And then people started turning towards the sun for its blessings and the things it has to offer. Now, I have the video Uga explained. I break down the whole. Oh, we're going to show you snuff tobacco. She'll whoop so bad. Yeah, she would too. Was very old. I was probably 5, 6 years old, and she was very old at that time. Never wore a top, just living. So that type of thing. So yeah, but um, but yeah, so I have a video Ugai explained. I tagged it to the very top. What we're talking about in this live is the four world ages. These are the breakdown of human history according to our ancestors. There are four ages that human beings went through, and they are based on movements. Each one is based on a
I don't want to
movement.
do live.
You don't want to do live anymore?
Yeah.
You're not doing the live. I'm doing the live.
No.
Yes. So they are based on the movements of humanity or the different phases or characteristics humans took in this time, right? So we started with Lugaka when we were light beings, we were pure. This is the age of oneness with the universe. We did not see ourselves as separate from the universe. We understood that we are creation. Creation is us. It's all one thing. Ugachi is the second age. This is the age of self-awareness. We now realize that we are an individual thing, that I am separate from my son and my son's separate from me. And I'm separate from this fake tree and all that stuff. The age of self-awareness. Now we're entering Ugamu, right? Now that this separation has been realized, the third age is Ugamu. Ugamu is the age of the sun when the world is said to become bright, right? And so the blessings of the sun, I'm going to explain that in a minute. The blessings of the sun are then shined onto humanity. And from there is an enlightening, right? This is called the enlightenment, right? Or the age of light. So this enlightenment happens and human beings begin to reach a level of intellectual achievement that is unprecedented. Whereas in Ugachi, we now are presented with these new human problems and we develop the foundations of what we now call Igbo spirituality or Igbo cosmology or Odinani. We develop the foundations of that. In Ugamu, we take it to its heights. We take this thing to its highest levels, right? In Ugamu, this is when you see and I didn't say this in the video and I regret it, Dibias and Izenwai emerge in Ugamu. This is when the Dibia emerges as a part of human culture, right? or when healers, medicine, science. This is when it emerges in Ugangu, right? And the thing that is interesting about Ugangu is that even if you look at the word Dibia, it's Di Abia, Di Abia, a master of Abia. So what is Abia? If you guys want to see a video on Abia and Abala, they're the same thing. Let me know.
Me too.
I think that I need to explain it before we can go into some other concepts. But Abia is.
No.
What's up?
I don't want to be here, okay?
Okay, you don't want to be here? Okay.
I want to clap.
You want to clap? Okay, be here and clap, okay? Cool. So Abia is, if you look at the sun, let's look at the sun, right? There's the sun, and then there are the rays of the sun, right? Now, the rays of the sun are not a different thing from the sun, but the rays of the sun are the sun sending its essence towards you, or the essence of the sun reaching you. So Abala and Abia, like that, if you understand that basic shape, you understand everything that pertains to the chi, and you at least understand like what I would call the shape of creation according to our ancestors, right? So if you look at people, there's Madu and there's Mo. I am a person, and then I have this thing. My Mo is are rays that come from me. Like we translate more as spirit very often, and that's fair to do, but it is something slightly different conceptually. Your more are these rays that come from you, so that if I'm feeling good, right, my son being near me, he's gonna start feeling a little good because my rays are shining onto him. Just like because the sun is hot, the rays of the sun, you will feel the heat. So the nature of the sun shines onto you, right? Now, when it comes to Chukwu, the nature of Chukwu shines onto creation. And this shining is known as Abia or Abala, depending where you're from, right? I think Abia is used more southern Igbo, Abala is used more northern Enugu, Anambra, and then the other one is Imo, and then Ebonyi, and then the other one is more Imo and Rivers and Abia. And then Delta, I want to say Delta says Osebulua, right, which is the same thing. So the
I need to drink.
You want to drink?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, give me just a second, okay?
I need something to drink.
You need something to drink?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll get you a drink in a second. So
I don't want to stay there.
Okay, you can come here, but you have to be quiet. So Abia is it shines. It is the nature of Chukwu shining onto creation, right? So a Di Abia is a master of that shining. Is a master of the shining. It is a master of the rays, that type of thing. A person who can receive from the creator is a Di Abia. When you see D, it usually means man or master, or and the two are synonymous in our culture, right? So because you don't become a D, you don't become a man until you build a house in Igbo culture, until you're a homeowner. You understand? So once you've built a house, you become a D, and then you can go look for a wife. You don't look traditionally. You don't marry a wife before you've built a home. So a D is a master because you're the master of the household. That is your household, and then you are now going to bring a wife into it and create a family. So that is a Diabia. So this thing, Abia or Abala, then begins to shine onto people, and you begin to see these like great feats of creation and intellectual achievement, right? I hope y'all can focus because I can't, but you begin to see these great feats of achievement and intellectual achievements and that types of thing, right? So in this age, it is called the Enlightenment, the era of light, that type of thing. In the video, again, like I hesitate to make cultural comparisons, but it was another uncanny one. In the video, Uga explained, please watch it if you haven't already. It is tagged, a link to it is tagged to the top. It is Uga Explained, the Four World Ages or something of that nature. I never remember my titles. But in the video, I used the Egyptian idea of Amun, right? The Egyptian idea of and then someone correct me if you know better. But the idea of the sun and then the rays of the sun in itself being a different essence or a shining of that essence of Ra onto people. So you see in a lot of Egyptian glyphs, a person, praising onto the sun and then the hands of the sun reaching back out to them, right? That is the concept of Abia. And it is said that in this age emerged. Hey, chill. In this age emerged. Namdi, you're doing too much. In this age emerged a certain type of people known as the children of the rising sun. These were enlightened people who then began migrating across the world, spreading these esoteric arts and the knowledge that they have to other people and that type of thing until the era comes to an end. Now, at the end of the era, some of these people, because Abia or Abala is connected to clairvoyance, the ability to see into the future and so forth, some of the people see that the age that is coming is an age of destruction, right? And because an age of destruction is coming, some of these things that they learned and discovered in Ogangu, the age of the rising sun, they decide not to teach their children. They decide to let it die with them, because they know that the coming age, all forms of knowledge will be used for destruction, right? In this coming age, all forms of knowledge will be used for destruction. So they die with a lot of the knowledge that they discovered in that time. But from that age, we get Dibias, we get a lot of what we would now call our culture as a specific cultural group, as Igbo people, right? Comes from Ogangu. Now, let me see if I can read if there are any questions and that type of thing. Bare breast freedom is the way to go, man. Yes. I have a document in my library, in the medicine library, which is available to all patrons at patreon.com/themedicineshell. It's the library I used to do my research. It has hundreds of documents and it's all organized by topic. So if this is interesting stuff to you, wait till you see the library. It's phenomenal. And I don't even know if I can get to everything in the library in these videos. But Namdi. Oh yeah.
I don't want to stay there.
You don't. Where do you want to stay?
There.
Okay. Are you gonna be quiet?
Yeah.
You have to be quiet. Okay. So, anyways, yeah. Apologize about the noise that my partner is making. Mom had to take a shift, so this is what we're dealing with. But by the way, this is what goes on while I'm recording my videos. So if you hear little peeps and nicks in the background, I have a kid crawling on my head while I'm talking. So what was I saying? If someone could remind me of what I was saying, I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I think I'll go on to the next thought. But yeah, so the children of the rising sun die with a lot of the knowledge that is to come. I was bare-breasted. Yes. So there's a document in the medicine library that speaks about a community during colonialism that said that they're going to go back to the ways of their ancestors. And they spoke of a couple of the offenses that, or the ills that had come to their land due to this rapid change, right? One thing that doesn't get emphasized enough about colonialism is not so much there was a lot of change, is how fast the change happened. And there's always there's a trauma to that. My mother was a counselor, and she was specialized in counseling refugees almost exclusively from South Sudan during the time of their conflict. And one of the things that a lot of them were suffering with was adjustment disorder because of how fast they had to adjust to this radically different society, that kind of thing. So there's very fast movement happening in the colonial period, which was very brief in itself. And the community says, we've had enough. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to go back to the ways of our ancestors. And the community cited a few things that were causing damage in the community. One thing they cited, this goes back, Ikenga Nation, I'm going to go back to your bare-breasted freedom thing. One of the things they cited was that modern roads, right? Wide modern roads were destroying the land. And they said that it was destroying the land because it was inviting disease from other places, and it was causing young people to leave and not come back, which was a very interesting way to put the effect of a road on a community, that type of thing. So that they didn't want any more roads. They didn't want any more of the white man's roads, they called them. They wanted women's roads. Women's roads are the pathways in a community, the footpaths. Those are called women's roads in a community because they are owned by the women of that community. They are maintained by a certain age grade or the obo in that community and so forth. But that type of thing, that they wanted to go back to using women's roads or footpaths. But one of the things, speaking of bare-breasted freedom, was that, and this is going to sound kind of wild to a modern ear, they didn't want the girls or the young women to wear pants and skirts anymore. That they said that, I don't know, there's like a demonetizing process with YouTube, but so I'm going to say this very childishly. I also have my son here, but they said that the underparts of a young woman have to be exposed to the sun because it is unhealthy for them. unhealthy for it not to be exposed to the sun. Now, some of you guys are probably OBGYNs and all that stuff, but I do wonder if there is something to that. But they kept saying that was one big emphasis, is that it's unhealthy, it's going to make it so they can't produce children, or healthy children and all that stuff. That was one thing that was said. So about the bare-breasted freedom, yeah, there's a lot to, a lot of times you see societies and you see nudity, you think that it's because they don't know to put on pants or something like that. But then if you dig further, you'll know that most of the time they know why their society is that way. I look at a lot of cultures in like the Amazon forest in Brazil, they're naked, and you would think, it's because they don't know. But then if you go to a beach in Brazil, everybody's naked with them, right? So they know what they're doing, they know where they live, they know what you're supposed to dress like there. Today you'll see a lot of people in Nigeria in the blazing ass sun wearing a 3-piece suit, just sweating, telling you about Jesus. So because we have access to more of our mind, the original Trinity, pineal, pituitary, hypothalamus glands of the mind. Awesome, excellent comment, little lady. Random question: is it appropriate to name children after Arashi? No, absolutely not. It is very, 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 very uncommon now because of the Christianization of the culture, but it was the norm before. There's a lot of Mwagungun. Mwagungun is an Irishi. There's Mwagungun. There's all types of names. Even my own name. I mean, if you want to consider the Ofo an Irishi, which it is, my name is Ofo Derenwa, my last name, right? So that is the Ofo is within the child. The Ofo is within the child. My next video is Ofo explained. So I'm going to be explaining what the Ofo is, what it means, its significance, and all that stuff. But the Ofo is very much an Irishi, and even my own name is an Irishi name. A lot of Igbo last names, you check the last names, are Irishi related. Anybody named Kanu, the most famous at the moment, Namdi Kanu, that's an Irishi. Kanu is Amadioha. But Kanu is the fiery side of Amadioha, right? And if you listen to Namdi Kanu's speeches, a good friend of mine pointed out that he feels there's a connection. Ojukwu, from the first Biafra War, the leader of the first Biafra Republic, Ojukwu is an Irishi. Many of the people in here, your last name is probably an Irish name, so it's not abnormal. It used to be very, very, very common, but now it's not. More is essentially influence. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. More is it's the you that radiates from you, right? And it's the effect of that is Namdi. Chill. The effect of that is that it sends your essence ends up influencing the things around you, that type of thing. I had a good conversation with our in-house Debia for the patrons that know him, and he was saying something very interesting about how when there's no life inside of a house, the house starts to decay, right? And we all know this. When there's no living human beings inside of a house, the house starts to decay. But if a living person is inside of the house and doesn't move for 50 years, that house will not decay so long as that person is in there. And you wonder why these things are like that, right? Why is it that when I leave, all of a sudden I come back, like if I leave for 20 years and come back, there's dust. Did the dust know to settle there? Like what is, hey, there may be a better explanation for that type of thing, but your house is going to take the nature of life because you have put life in it. What do our ancestors say makes that happen? Is because your more radiates life onto the unliving. And so that the house then has the nature of life, right? That is why a lot of when you build an altar, an ancestral altar, and you're saying your ancestors' names onto that altar regularly, you are giving it the essence of their life. You are giving it the essence of life. And that is why it's important to use your specific ancestors' names when you are using an altar. If you don't know them, 50% of the journey is learning their names and learning their stories. So go, and a lot of you, based on the Haplo group talk we're having in here, a lot of you have already done the major lifting. Mazadi, old ones, I don't know what that. Ancient Druid Father God was Dahagad. He's so adorable. Chica, that's what you think. Just that's Namdi.
I don't want to stay there.
Where do you want to stay? Just there.
To there.
Each on Okay, you have to be quiet, okay? All right. So D is master, husband, professional, etc. Yes. Ivory, because elephants are majestic. Majestics are majestics. Elephants are very majestic. I agree. Ekundayo says fourth light day. The real name, the Book of the
I need
Dead.
to drink.
Ekundayo, if you can elaborate on that, I would appreciate
I need
it.
something to drink.
Oh, you've already said that. Okay, Linga, you see it?
Oh wow!
By the medicine. You see that?
Yeah.
All right, go get it.
Yeah.
Okay, bring it. Imena. Come. All right, drink.
What?
Drink now. Drink first. We're taking a water break, y'all. Chill. Not chill. Sorry. Hold on.
What do I put that for?
No, come this way.
I want to drink.
You want to drink? Yeah. So as I was saying, actually, I don't even know what I was saying. But Ekundayo, yeah, if you can elaborate on what you're saying as far as the Book of the Dead, that would be great. It looks really interesting. As it is currently now, I remember us discussing how Europeans use our magic rituals against us. The monuments in DC, for example. Yeah, all of this, the thing is, all of this is based on observation. So a lot of the times, it is not so much that they are picking it up from us, though often that is the case. Very often, very, you're 100% right in what you're saying. But sometimes you realize that every single culture has an understanding of the things that I'm talking about. And they'll put it in different language and it manifests different ideas within that culture. But the parallels are when you see that every single group of people in the world are saying one thing, you kind of have to start taking it seriously. So in America, I'm living in America, we believe that we're a people that don't believe in these things. But at the highest levels of power in America, they are very active. They are very active and they are very, very into every single thing that I'm saying. Right? A good friend of mine, he is an African American, very accomplished man, an elder, but he did DNA testing, found out he was Igbo, and funny enough, from a place very close to where I'm from. He was saying to me that because he was a Freemason, and he was saying to me that, or Prince Hall Mason, let me say. To be specific. And he was saying to me that, that Masonry is the baby steps, basically, of everything of African or Igbo cosmology, African cosmology, that type of thing. And he had said this based on his background in Ifa, that as he's looking into Odinani and learning more about Odinani, he is seeing that a lot of what's being said over there is said over here. Now, if you know the role of Masonry and fraternities and all these things in the U.S. power structure, you'll understand that these things are very alive and very active, right? It's actually we Africans that are the least active in understanding this cosmology in the modern day, right now, not before. Right now, we're the least because we think that it's just. We don't think it's something that everybody is doing, and we don't think that everybody's doing it to a massive effect. But at the highest levels of power in at least Western society, it's absolutely there. As you understand African cosmology and the thing, what some people would call voodoo, once you understand it well, walk into a Catholic church and look around. You'll be like, oh, okay, right? Why is Mary always depicted in blue? Why does she have that particular shape? What's that light? What's that light behind Jesus's head? A lot of the different weird things that are said in the Bible. Why is that said? What's the book of Psalms about? All these different things, Abraham, Father Ram, all these things, all these different things. Somebody will say, Amadioha, the Ram, Father Ram, is the devil or devil worship, but then they'll tell themselves that they're from the tribe of Abraham. Male testosterone rises directly from sunlight to the gonads. There is something to it. Bionics, absolutely. You're 100% right about the male testosterone and the shining of the light and so forth. I looked into the benefits for women as far as direct sunlight have on women. And there is a very, 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 very important role that vitamin D plays, not only in the reproduction process, but in the maintenance of a woman's body. So a lot of you that don't get adequate sunlight, and we as melanated people, we need more sunlight than average, or average based on the societies we're in. I mean, chill. So try to get sunlight. If try to get direct sunlight, or I mean, if you need to, maybe a vitamin D supplement. A lot of which is wrong, you think is wrong with you physiologically, you'll be surprised at the effect that has. We are people of the sun. There's no difference between us and the sun, and we need the sun to survive. Sweating on the bench is a three-piece suit telling you about Jesus. Yeah. That sounds like caveman talk. I don't, wait, what caveman talk? Little lady, can you elaborate on what I said? That sounded like caveman talk. I don't think I was talking caveman talk. My schoolmate's last name is Abara. Yeah, it's very common. You'll even
Oh, Angel, I'm hurt.
You're hurt? You
Yeah.
mean you're sorry?
Yeah.
Okay. So probably Christian influenced. Friend, change his name from Abara. That's unfortunate. I hope he changes his mind. Yeah, there's a lot of name changing. Some villages have changed their name. There's a village called Umuchuku in Anambra. To my knowledge, it was originally called Umwekwensi, right? Ekwensi is connected to Ekwensu, which the Christians, based on a survey they did of people in Sierra Leone, decided Ekwensu was the devil. And so Umwekwensi changed its name to Umuchuku. It is an unfortunate thing, but there's a lot of name changing and shortening. A lot of people named Alfadile. There's a longer version of their name, but they'll shorten it to Alfa or Alfadile, that type of thing. Like we kept the whole thing Alfadile, that kind of thing. Are you being calm? Cool. So that type of thing. There's a lot of name changing. It's extra unfortunate. I think that will change. I think that'll change in due time. I think that'll change pretty soon. I think with this generation, it's definitely going to change. And the reason I say that is because there was this push during the time of our parents to prove how Christian you were, right? You're more. That's why everybody's name is Chi 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 Chi, because the Christian translates Chi as Jesus. So they want to show you, I got a bunch of Chi, whatchamacallit, in my house, and that type of thing. There was this big emphasis to prove. But even that generation is kind of relaxing on that idea. And the generation after doesn't seem as interested in that type of mentality, especially from like millennials and down. They don't seem that interested in that mentality. They're very into their culture. As you see with a lot of this channel and a lot of similar channels like it, that there's a big push to rebuild what was damaged and so forth. So, Care Bear stare. Hold on, let me show that type of thing. So yeah, but a lot of people change their last names, that type of thing. There were not that many Chukus back in the day. Now there are a lot more Chukus. A lot of those Chukus were Kalus and Njabas and Oshimeris and all that stuff. They all changed to Chuku because they translate that as God in the mind of a Christian. Good observation. I think you're on the money. Cool. I went to Freemason headquarters once and listened to a lecture on Solomonic magic. Igbo spirituality is 10 times more deep and interesting. They mainly limit themselves to books and not experiences. Habitual B, yeah, I've been told something very similar too. So I've been told something very, very similar. So my experience and what you're saying line up, and your experience line up. So as Africans, they were trying to piece together identity and connection that was snatched from us. He said, oh my God, Namdi makes me laugh every time. I thought he said we're done. We're done after the first donation. Yeah, no, Namdi's a trip. But he's going through a phase where this is as far apart as he'll allow us to be. He was all about mom, now he's all about dad. I'm ready for him to be all about mom again. I need to breathe. So that type of thing. Comments. All right, I'm going to read a few more comments. I think I'm going to tap out. All the name changes, Igbo people. Does it improve my life? They won't remove Umwek Ekwensi from their name. Yeah, yeah, and, there's no, when the name changes have a um because a lot of our culture and history is preserved in names and language and terms, right? Like when I do my research, 50% of my research, or my, not I said 50%, but my most valuable resource for research is the Igbo language. Because oftentimes, if you squint, you'll figure out what a word is trying to say or what a concept is. Like, oh, okay, like uga, ga is movement. Oh, okay, the movements, uga. So each age is a movement, that kind of thing. You now learn about it and it correlates. So that type of thing. So when these names get changed, it kind of severs that. It chops that off, right? I'm named Alfader because I have an ancestor named Alfader, just like anybody, most people's last names, that type of thing. Even with Europeans, oh, my name is Farmer because back in the day somebody farmed, that kind of thing. So when those changes are made, it severs that knowledge. It severs the knowledge, the connection. And oftentimes, this is from my own observation, when you see those name changes, you'll now see the family scatter into space and never return, right? Those are the ones with the house that's rotting in the village that they're saving for their children, And if you ask the children, where are you from? They're like Africa, like they don't know, So, more is our aura / vibes. I think I scrolled too fast. Okay, more is our aura and vibes. Yes, more is aura, vibes, all that stuff is connected to more. Yes, your essence, or your radiance, the light that comes from you. Name changing and a thing of psychological. Absolutely. My dad. I keep Nandi, stay still though. My dad. Brother is Chino and Chigo. My family is full of chi 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 chi. My family on my dad's side were not Christian, except my grandmother. So only the last two children have chi names, which were out of nine. I think I have nine uncles, and one aunt from that family, or from my family. And so all of them, they don't have chi names, but my grandfather was very, very into the English language. He loved. Eat it? No, I don't eat it. My grandfather loved the English language. He told the story of when he was young, he got to go to school for 1 year. And he says that year was the greatest year of his life. So from that year on, he probably taught himself to read and then read every single day up to the day he died, because he was very grateful for this, that the good side of colonialism, I guess. So, but he was very anti the being in Nigeria. He was super Biafran. So the all of his kids have an English name. So my father's name is Eric. His brother is Theodore, but they call him Teodo. It took me I think I was about 23 when I figured out that Teodo is Theodore, but that kind of thing. They all have a bunch of English names and things like that. And then the last two children have Igbo names, but they're Chi names because I think that my grandmother took over and named them. But we don't have many Chi names in my family because my grandfather was not Christian and my dad was not Christian, that kind of thing. So most probably not what originally said. Probably. All right, I'm gonna read a few more, and then I'm gonna hop. I'm gonna explain the final ages of Gazi, and I'm gonna read a few more after that and hop out. My dad's name is Ekekwe. I plan on answering it. Yeah. So, Chigo, if you want to look at the Eke explain video, my people worship Ogogo and Eke. Absolutely. So you already know. So awesome. My favorite Igbo name is Chukwuemeka. Cool. Father-in-law, do you have any Igbo forename as well as? Yes, my Igbo name is Duru. Hey, chill. My Igbo name is Duru, but I have never been called Duru in my life. So if you said Duru in a room, I wouldn't know who you're talking to. So I just go with Derek. That's the one I've been called. That's why I know, that kind of thing. When I get my chieftaincy, I'll take on a name. So you guys will have one big, complicated, heavy name that you guys can call me, as opposed to Derek. But until then, I'll use Derek, that kind of thing. But yeah, my own name is Duru. Knowledge and wisdom destroys us. Oh, bummer. I was hoping you could make. Duru, so yeah, so the final age, Namdi. I would like to. I want to watch this video back to see the differences between how he's acting in the beginning and now. Namdi, try to chill, okay?
No.
No, okay, no problem. So the final age is Ugazi. In Ugazi, it is called the age of backwardness, the age of wickedness, the age of ignorance, and the age of destruction. That is the age we are in right now. So in Ugazi, the distance between humanity and the universe has grown to the point that we do not see ourselves as a part of the universe, and we in fact think that we are something greater than creation or something uniquely like something unique from nature, which is very interesting because if you hear a lot of modern people speak, the way we speak, the way we say things, we try to separate humanity from nature, as or like humanity from animals, that kind of thing, as if there's some intrinsic difference, right? One of the examples I was thinking about a few years back, is like the idea of a sidewalk, right? It's like you take some earth and you carve this thing so that your feet as a human being don't touch the earth. Like that kind of thing. It's kind of an asinine concept, you know. But that's, and then if you end up walking on the earth, it's improper, that kind of thing. You're not doing the right thing, you know. So in Ugazi, human beings see themselves as very separate from nature, and in that separation, we lose a lot of our intuitive capacity. A lot of Namdi is turned right now. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but we lose our once I turn this off, you'll calm down. Watch. But we lose a lot of our intuitive capacity in Ugazi, which is the age we're in right now. We lose the capacity to perform a kili, which is astral travel. Some people still have the gift. We had an very amazing discussion in our Odinani live chat, which we're gonna have one tomorrow. By the way, we're gonna have one tomorrow, Odinani live chat. But we had an amazing discussion on astral projection, ekili, in Igbo cosmology, and the reading was this CIA account of, or bless you. So this account of when the CIA or the American government was racing the Russian government to master a kili or astral projection, and some of the things that ended up happening and how they ended up finding, like in doing it, a lot of them started to die, right? Or a lot of them started to like be suspended in space. I kid you, this is all documented, you know, this is all documented. So a lot of them started to die. So they looked into it and they found the Egyptian or the Kemetic accounts. The Kemetic account said that when you enter, it describes something very specific in that realm. And that specific thing in that realm correlated perfectly with what they were experiencing before they died, right? And so from there, I mean, after a while, they shut down the program and erased it from memory and all that stuff, as is the case with a lot of U.S. government programs and stuff, like historically. But yeah, the video of that chat, which I love it. I think I've watched it at least twice now. The video from that chat is available for patrons. The patrons still have access to it. Patreon.com/the medicine show. If anybody's interested, but in that discussion, because it was one of my favorites. You can stay here. Yeah. So in Ugazi, we lose a lot of our that capacity. We start destroying more. So human beings in Ugamu, the age of the sun, we first started destroying each other. Like we start fighting wars, and we started cutting down trees, disrupting rivers, that type of thing. In Ugazi, the age we're in now, that habit quantifies so that everything we do or everything we learn or everything that enters our hands becomes dedicated to the act of destruction, the act of destroying each other, the act of destroying ourselves, the act of destroying nature, and so forth. And so Ugazi is known as an age of ignorance because that which was known before is lost. And then if it is, what is preserved is used improperly, right? So it is also said, this is very interesting, that in Ugazi, music left humanity. I'm going to do a video on music. I'm trying to think of how to frame it or title it, but I'll speak a little bit more on the cosmology of music. But it was said that music left humanity in this age, or humanity forgot music, right, in this age. There's a lot of terms that go back to the Azi being particularly wicked or bad. In the video, I use Azibakwa. If you're Igbo, you understand Azibakwa. When people say that shit, Azibakwa, you know, that kind of thing. It's a curse. It's like a kind of close equivalent is when people say God forbid, that type of thing, or wish away a bad thing. So hold on, what is the trigger from the transition between Ugazi and Ogaka? That is a very good question. That I don't know. I don't know that. Now, again, I compared it to the Hindu accounts. The Hindu accounts of they also have four world ages, and I break down the Hindu one and the Igbo one in the video Uga explained. So if you're interested, go watch that video. I've gotten some pretty good reviews on it. So, but what they said was that the way we entered the Kali Yuga, which correlates with Ugazi, was when Krishna left the earth. Krishna returned to his celestial abode, right? So that's what triggered it in their account. Now, I don't know the Igbo account, what triggered it, right? I don't know what triggered it per se. I would be interested in knowing. Hey, boy. I would also be interested in knowing if there's a parallel between Krishna and any of the Arishi, but I would have to study Krishna a little bit more to understand it. Like how mumble rap and payola have taken over the music industry. I'm fond of Chamaka. Chamaka has a beautiful name. Hey, I'm not hating on Chi names. Me and my wife said that we aren't going to do Chi names because they're kind of cliche. Everybody has a Chi name. But I'm really liking the name Uchechi. I think I announced on a previous live that my wife is pregnant. I've told you guys before I even told my Facebook friends, that kind of thing. So if it's a girl, I like the name Uchechi. So I might break the Chi rule that we had set. Chi names are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them at all. They correlate perfectly with Igbo cosmology. It's not a different or a lesser type of name. And I'm sure 90%, not 90, but 50% of people here have a Chi name too. So I don't want to piss anyone off. But yeah, so we enter Ugak. I guess I was at a workshop and missed it. Oh, remote viewing was a part of it. Okay. If you're talking about the group study that we had, as far as the workshop, if you're on the Patreon Bionics, just ask me. I'll send you the link to the list. If I haven't sent it to you already, it's in the list of the different videos from the past. You can go back to the old sessions now and watch them and stuff like that too. So yeah, this is like reading a history book because it's all accurate. It's Homegirl Healer and Dewa. Let's see here. Unconventional naming ceremony. Yes. What year does Ugaka, I think, begin or commence? Yes. Hard to say when Ugaka begins. Again, I don't know. I don't know. That's not something I know. It would be interesting. And guess who fell asleep, by the way? Got him. So we usually brush his teeth before he goes to bed, so I need to wake him up anyway. Chinwe and Ekenwe, beautiful for sisters. Yes. So I don't know the dates. I think the Hindu account does a pretty good job of preserving or like saying the dates and so forth. But because it is Uga, it is based off of movements. And I also think based on the stories, it seems like the ages didn't happen in like immediately. They just kind of faded in. They just faded into each other. There's a lot of stories where you can tell the transition kind of happened, but it was like gradually one fades into another. Now, somebody had said something interesting, which was wars, empires, so forth. There were empires in Ugaon towards the ending of Ugaon. The building of empires begins. So if you know world history, perhaps, those that are asking me when do the dates begin, take a look at world history if you're versed. A lot of you guys are really well versed, and see if you can correlate some of these dates. It would be interesting to see if anybody can do that and what they come up with and so forth. But Uga, what was I going to say? Uga Anwu. Towards the end of Uga, there is the age of Ikenga. It is said it is called the age of the ram. Let me not say the end, but sometime in Uga, and in the age of the ram, people began to fight wars of conquest, right? And so Ugangu is also a violent age. It's not that violence began in Ugazi. There was violence in Ugangu, you understand. But Ugangu or Ugazi is almost completely defined by its violent events, whereas Ugangu is more so defined by its revelations and discoveries and things like that. There's the age of Ikenga within Ugangu, the age of the ram. And this is when wars, people started fighting wars and that type of thing. The age of Ikenga is also when men took the leading role or took over society, if that makes sense, right? So that's when men took primacy within society, right? Now, a lot of anthropologists and so forth credit patriarchal rule or patriarchy to the fact that the transition from keeping a group of people alive So when you have a very, very early society and there's just a few people, the main thing is having children and making sure the children survive and that type of thing. In those societies, there's either a mix of matriarchy and patriarchy or an inclination towards matriarchy in those smaller societies. As society gets bigger, and now it becomes about property, right? So we have this big group of maybe say 2,000 people, and we own this, and we have access to this river, and we have yada yada yada. The importance of men skyrockets because the men are going to be the ones that protect these things, and the men are going to be the ones that hold the oaths and stuff to keep that thing going, to keep the asset holding and so forth going. I hope that's not too controversial of a thing to say, but it's the men that are going to keep those things going. So the ability to fight and protect the thing now skyrockets the value of men in society and the value of male children and so forth. And so forth. So because now you can fight wars, you can protect, you can police, you can do all these different things because you have a bunch of dudes. And so in the age of Ikenga, it is said that primacy then happens during that age. And the age of Ikenga is also defined by the rise of war. The rise of war. Now, Ugazi war is different from Ugangu war because of the level of destruction we are capable of doing, and our habits or inclination towards that destruction is a lot higher in Ugazi. Uga is gentrification. Maybe. Hold on. I'm fond of Chamaka. Somebody said nuclear war. A lot of people said nuclear war as far as Ugazi goes. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the events of this last century, it's interesting that it's been defined this way. If you go to colonialism, the genocide of multiple groups in the African continent. In my Osu Explained video, I talked a little bit about this, but the way colonialism was done in Igbo land specifically was because every single village was its own country, right? That's why in my last video I was emphasizing you're from your father's village. You're from your father's village. That's where you have your citizenship, right? And I mean, yeah, there's a new Nigerian citizen, all that stuff, whatever. But that's where you have your cultural citizenship. So if you're a woman, that's your husband's gonna need to go there and do your dowry and do the ceremonies for marrying you, and you're going to get married on that soil, and sometimes your father will carry that soil if your father's a real, you know what I mean, he's going to carry that soil. I hate to gesture with my left hand, but my son is here. Apologize for using my left hand. But your father is going to hold the soil, and he's going to say, this is the soil that your mother's walked, this that, and you're going to carry the honor and yada 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 of our people. Every father has a different speech, but this is one that I was privy to hearing. You're going to carry the honor and the grace of our people onto your new home, yada yada. Then you'll go to your husband's home. So that whole thing, a lot of I don't want to go back into this, but a lot of people do this whole, my dad's from here, my mom's from here. No, I'm from here, which is your dad's place, then my mom's from here. You understand? It's just how it is, and that kind of thing. So, and if it's an inclusivity thing, your mom's place is your mom's dad's place. So you're not including anyone, or you're not doing what you think you're doing, that kind of thing. So, not to be rude, but yeah, anyways, yeah, I think I lost my train of thought. I was getting to that particular thing. It's an inside joke with me and my brother, so I always laugh and smile whenever I talk about it, forgetting and then forget what the hell I was talking about. But colonialism, empires, Ugazi. Yeah, so the way they did colonialism in Igbo land, every single village was its own country. And on top of it, there was no apex king that can say, okay, everybody has to do this. Even when they had Igwes, Obis, Ezes. As I told you before, an Obi in the Anyama region, before an Obi, which is what the Europeans thought was the king, can enter a market. He has to wait and get permission from the Amu. So there's a lot of checks and balances and things like that. And for a colonialist that's trying to take over an entire continent, you don't have time to do the local politics. You don't have time to like build consensus and all these different things. There's a video, it's a propaganda video from the British government, from the propaganda wing of the British government, the BBC, I believe, or maybe this was before the BBC was the BBC. They created things called Dawn in Udi. It's a video documenting that they're trying to build it's like, this is all the progress we're making in our colony here in Udi, which is a place in Enugu. And so in the video, you saw that they wanted to build, I want to say, a road, and the colonialist had to argue with every single man and woman, because there was a part where a person comes and goes, this particular man doesn't want to build this road, and that his two wives don't vote against him. They agree with him. So he's going to vote no, and they're going to vote no. And he was trying to find a way to pacify the people and let them know, hey, it's okay. So you're a colonialist. There's about, anybody that's Igbo, you can correct me if I'm wrong, no less than 10,000 community villages, no less, probably even more. No less than 10,000 of these tiny little things. Not tiny, a lot of them are, I apologize for saying tiny. They're actually huge, right? We call them villages, but people will go there like, this is not a village, right? Somebody from Onitsha will say, oh, my village is Onitsha, or if they're going back to, I'm going back to the village, I'm going back, that kind of thing. But Onitsha is a city. It's a big ass city, right? And people live on top of each other, that kind of thing. But I'll call it a village. So we talk about them like they're small, but they're not. So even where I'm from, our mama, it's big, it's huge. So you would have to pacify each place. So what the British did was they had what allowed colonialism to happen in Africa was the Maxim gun. And this ties into Ugazi. If you want to know the nature of Ugazi, the Maxim gun was an early machine gun, one of the first machine guns, right? Because it wasn't a matter, people say, okay, the Europeans had guns, the Africans didn't. That's not true. The Africans had guns too. By the time the Europeans started their colonial mission, Igbo people were making their own guns, specifically in the villages of Nkwere. If anybody's from Nkwere, shout out to y'all. Nkwere, Oka, Leja, Opi, all these different ironsmithing places had learned how to make their own guns, right? So it wasn't a matter that Europeans had guns, they didn't. The Europeans had the Maxim gun, the machine gun. What they would do is they would go to a village, they would just spray and kill every single person that they could. This is Ugazi behavior. They would kill every single person they could. They would burn the entire thing down. Everybody had to die. And so then they would go to all the surrounding villages and say, hey, you saw what I did over there, right? I need you to cooperate or else I'm going to do it to you. And they'd do that. Instead of going to pacify each village, they would massacre one and then they'd get like 20. They'd go massacre another and they get another 20, so on and so forth. My ancestor, Amenalha, he was a warlord. The Europeans arrived to him. And the reason I know this is because it's a part of my family history. They came to him, and there was a village near us that doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. And they had wiped out everybody from that place. So that place is like bush now. Nobody lives there anymore because they had genocided the place. And they told him, hey, this is going to happen to this place if you don't cooperate, that kind of thing. So that's how the colonial thing was spread in Igbo land. But once they finished doing that, then all the arguments and this person doesn't agree, that person, because we didn't have kings. We didn't have a single person that says, okay, everybody has to do this. So they tried to create kings. The women rebelled. They overthrew them. They fought them about women's rights. I made a video on it, that kind of thing. And then after a while, the British said, I'm out. We're gone. So, we say that colonialism did a lot of cultural change on us, but it was I want us to understand it was a very brief period of time. It was from probably at the earliest, like the whole place was consolidated 1920, and then they left at about in the 1950s. I'm trying to remember when Nigeria got its independence. They left in the 1950s. It's a very brief period. So that's about a generation, right? That kind of thing. But what we chose to do after that was on us, and so that's why we're in the mess we're in today. I don't even know how I got there, but there I was. Will you do a vid on traditional attire? Absolutely, I will. Absolutely, I will. One of the thoughts I've had for length about the ages scale correlates similar to life experiences. Thank you, Lance. I'm glad you said that. So I also thought about the four world ages and how they correlate with the human lifespan, right? So the if you look at, because remember, and a lot of this, there's a layer of this that once you reach that layer of understanding, things start clicking for you on a different level, right? Now remember, Chuku, Chuku is connected to the father, to the man, right? Is connected to the man. And Anna, the earth, or Eke died and reincarnated as Anna, or as the earth, right? So remember, if Anna is mother and Chuku is father, the idea that, remember what I said earlier, we were light beings, right? And some of the light beings, Lance, I'm so glad you said what you said. Some of those light beings reached Earth, but not all of them, right? Not all of them. And once they reached Earth, they gained a material human body, right? Now, Ugaka, you are one with creation. You are one with the Father. You are one with the Mother, right? Now, at the expense of making anyone giggle, if you think about the copulation process, the process um, of impregnating a woman and then the woman carrying the child and so forth, it really, if you remember who Chuku is and who Anna is, you go from one, not all of you, just some of you go over to the other. In that other one, you begin to gain a material body. But remember, Ugaka, you don't eat from your mouth. You eat directly from Chuku. If Anna is a resurrection of Ne Chuku, if Anna is a resurrection of Ne Chuku, right? And you're eating directly from Chuku, what does that say? What is that saying? And Anna, Ne Chuku, Anna, and the mother or the woman, specifically the mother, are one. They are one wave of creation that manifests in different ways, just like when you throw a pebble at a lake, the different ripples. They are all different ripples of the same phenomena, right? So you're eating directly from Chuku. Even when you're in your father, you're eating directly from Chuku, right? That kind of thing, you know? And then you come out, and now you have to eat from the world, right? You're still eating from Chuku. Like they said that Eri was receiving Azundu from the sky. Azundu is the fish of life, right? In some tales or in some tellings, it says that the people Umaka, and remember, Umaka means child. The children of Ugaka means Umaka. The people of Ugaka are called Umaka, and Umaka means child, right? Eating directly from your mother. Then all of a sudden, you now have to eat from the world. And in eating from the world, you become aware of self. You become aware of self, right? So now you have entered Ugachi as an individual. You realize that you and your mother are not the same thing. You realize that you and your father are not the same thing, that kind of thing. And you're detached now. And you have to now figure out how to live in this new world and this big thing, and it's scary, and you're figuring out. But then you learn to communicate again with your mother. The building of the Abara, or the building of the Arishi, to connect back with the Abara. The first Arishi were towards Nechuku. If you watch Uga, please click. If you haven't watched it, click on I have a link up top. It is blue banner. It says Medicine Shell Uga Explained. Click on the link there and just keep it in a tab for when this is over. Go watch it if you haven't seen it, right? It'll all kind of connect. And there are details in there that I left out in this talk. There are details in this talk that I left out in the video. Not on purpose, though. I'd never try to leave out anything on purpose. But anyways, yeah, you now become aware of yourself. You're now your own person. You then phase into Ugang. Not only are you aware of yourself, you are mastering the world around you. You're able to use your intellect and that type of thing, and yada yada yada. But then it's the violence in you is coming, right? I see this as kind of a puberty. Maybe puberty, I don't know. Maybe puberty, maybe early teenage is Ugang, right? You're beginning to become capable and all that stuff. And you're a child, but compared to the child you were, you are performing at a level of excellence with speech and walking and talking and all that stuff, right? You can do a lot of the stuff that adults can do, right? And then I don't know what part of your life is Ugazi, right? Maybe if you guys have been on in Clubhouse and Twitter, probably your 20s, right? I don't know when Ugazi happens, but it's very interesting that you see those parallels. I lose track after Uganwo and Ugazi when one begins, one ends. But the Umwaka or the Ugaka transition to Ugachi, it's very eerie. It's eerily similar to the human birthing process. So it's very fascinating. But that's just one theory, that's just one theory. Okay. Can you do a vid at some point on time in general? Absolutely. Yes, I can absolutely do a video on time. Michael, so if you can comment on one of the videos requesting it, when I'm looking for topics to do, I'll go to my most recent videos and I'll read the comments and I'll see what people are requesting, and then that's what I put up for vote for the patrons, right? So I'm not going to remember based off you saying that. I do apologize. I'm not going to remember off of you just saying, do a video on time. But if you can put it in as a comment in one of the videos, any video you want, then it's easier for me to remember because YouTube stores all the most recent comments and I can just scroll down and see what's being requested. But yeah, doing a video on time is phenomenal. CIA did remote viewing too. Yeah, it goes into the program that we discussed in our group chat. Join the group chat when you're ready. Join the Patreon when you're ready. So speaking of things clicking in different level regarding Oga, the 4 Oga in our cosmology corresponds with the 4 states of awareness. From beta to alpha, the theta to delta. Delta state is meditation movement. I would be very reaching. Okay, there's the rest of it. Reached in meditation in 1 to 3 breaths per minute. Very spiritual near death state. That's very interesting. Yeah, meditation movement. I appreciate you sharing that. I myself meditate, but I don't meditate on an advanced level. I learned to meditate before I learned, or I learned to meditate before I learned spirituality and before I learned all these different things. Though I knew a lot of these things already, I just didn't connect them the way I have them connected now. But yeah, so my meditation was guided by intuition. But based on what you're saying, I absolutely understand what you're saying because in that same chat we had about the astral projection, how the U.S. is trying to harness its power, all that stuff. We discussed the concept of reaching that level. And I shared a dream experience I had that parallels what you're saying here. So absolutely, the beta state is corresponding with the Iron Age, our current age, where we have forgotten more. Absolutely. So yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. What's not true? Europeans don't insert themselves in other spaces. Uh-oh. So, all right. So so yeah, anyways, yeah, just to wrap it up, Ugazi is considered an age of backwardness. That type of thing. Now, earlier I said that I have some hesitations on calling Ugazi, or being as pessimistic about Ugazi as a lot of other practitioners and DBAs and people of that stature and so forth are. One of the reasons I'm not as pessimistic is I feel that because somebody had asked me earlier, what were the things that Umwangu or the children of the rising sun knew that we ourselves don't know today? I think that there's a lot that has been lost that we probably will never uncover, right? And just about anybody can tell you that. But I think that there's a lot that we have also come onto our own and learned and discovered. Now, do we then use it to start destroying ourselves? Absolutely. You know, absolutely. So I'm not as pessimistic as on the lost knowledge aspect of it, because a lot of what was known cosmologically gets rehashed and recycled and appropriated, and sometimes it'll be called, oh, this is science, or this is this and this is that, and so on and so forth, right? Once the people that we allow or that we wait for to give, there are people in this world that many of us wait for to give us permission to have perceptions, and wait for to give us permission to have certain thoughts, and wait for to give us permission to have certain ideas. Yeah, Uremna. Hey, you told me not to ring the thing until I have the Ogene, so thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate it. There are certain people that we wait for to allow everybody to say things, right? So uh, what a lot of those people will now turn around and say a lot of these things that were dismissed, or oh, turns out is true. They'll put it in their own language, and then all of a sudden it becomes the truth, you know. And I've kind of learned to respect the truth no matter where it comes from. That's kind of what this journey has taught me. Respect the truth no matter what form it comes from. Respect the truth. An individual's truth is a truth, right? There's no. I don't believe in a capital T truth. Everybody's gonna have their truth, and it's, you know, if I want to sit there and verify it with my own truth to see where it correlates, fine, you know. But there's a reason everybody does and says what they do, and so forth. And you don't always have to wait for the gatekeeper to tell you it's okay to have this thought or okay to have this perception. So a lot of what we end up discovering scientifically, if you look at what our ancestors were saying, in any most of Africa and even beyond, in different parts of the world, you'll see that this has already been accounted for. This is already known. Sure, the language for it was different or how it was described is different, but there's an understanding of this, and it goes back to something that our ancestors said. That kind of sums it up, is more or less that creation, it repeats itself, right? That's a theme in a lot of these videos. Creation repeats itself. So if you know the littlest thing, you know the biggest thing, right? The proverb I used in one of my videos was that the smith who doesn't know how to build an ogene um, should observe the tail of the kite. Kites is like a hawk or a falcon, any bird that glides, right? Meaning that ogene, the which I'll be getting for this for those who donate. Shout out to Rena. Um, the ogene itself is a replica of that kite, but on a bigger level. It says that if you don't know this thing, look at that thing. So a lot of these things have already been accounted for somewhere in the human culture of knowing and knowledge and so forth. All right, y'all. I think we are going to wrap it up. The comments look like they're getting wild. Talk about Uru communities. Hey, Wafo, I'm from an Uru community, very proudly. So I'll be making a video on that. If you can remember to ask me that in the next live we do, I know that's a lot to ask for. I want to think of a more regular schedule for these lives. Do you guys want them to be weekly? Do you guys want them to just be after every video? Let me see if I can wait for some answers. Otherwise, message me, let me know, give me some suggestions, that type of thing. um, how do we donate? I think there's this little dollar sign at the bottom. There's a smiley face where it says say something. At least on my end, there's a smiley face, a dollar sign, and then a poll. Maybe I should make a poll. Focus on opening hearts of our people. They need it most. Homegirl healer. Chop G. You say. You say. After every video, Urenna. Okay. All right. So since Urenna is the only one that stepped up, maybe I'll do it after every video. We'll discuss. I also do the moons. Anytime there's a new moon, I'll also do one too, and so forth. It's not happening right now. So yeah, all right. That's it for today. I want to thank everybody who came. There's a video attached at top. Guy explained. For those who want to support the channel, you can support at patreon.com/the medicine. I spell everything right. Medicine Shell. You can support at patreon.com/the medicine shell. Now, supporting at patreon.com/the medicine shell gives you access to a couple of things. First and foremost, if you're at the is a tier, I apologize for that burp. That was gross. You get access to the in-house Debia. Our in-house Debia is able to do readings and able to consult and work with you on a more therapeutic and one-on-one level using our ancestral healing arts. You can also do readings. A lot of people have gone to them for readings. They have figured out their past lives, like, for example, who they were, who they reincarnated as, and the different things they reincarnated with. My next video is going to be Ofo explained. And within your reincarnation, you have an Ofo more or a spiritual Ofo. And this is the thing in the world that you have authority and jurisdiction over. So that means that if you put your hands on that thing, You will not fail. It will not fail. It will not crash. It will. I want to apologize because I don't want to say your name wrong. Let me get the little hand clapper. I think Urenna was the one that said no hand claps for her. Hey, try it. This kid just threw away the hand clapper. All right, Isene Chopalji. Jacana. I want to say Jacana is the name. Chopalji. I dedicate that one to you. Thank you very much for the donation. It helps a lot. So anyways, the Debia is able to figure out your spiritual fall. That is the thing in the world that you have authority over. Different patrons have come to me and said, okay, I went for a reading and this is what he read for me. This is the things I'm connected to. These are the ancestors that are directly speaking to me or directly follow me and so forth. So that's something he's able to do. He's also a healer, can work with you on different problems and either interpersonal, personal, or even physical for some of them. So there's that. There's also access to the in-house or the Odinani, the library, the medicine library. So this is where I keep all the documents that I use for my own research. A lot of you are curious about specific topics that maybe I'm not covering, or maybe you don't want to wait for me to do a whole video on. So you can go directly to the folder, and I have like tons of ebooks, articles, studies, firsthand accounts, things like that, and so forth. Like, for example, when I was doing a lot of my Insibidi research, all of my Insibidi knowledge came from 3 books, or okay, 2 books and 1 document that detailed different Insibidi and all this stuff and so forth. And then, of course, asking people who are part of the Etbe Society and interviewing them and so forth. Wow, Michael Irving, man, y'all are going crazy. Lance Booker, I thank you. Ise, Wanim Aoji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Homegirl Healer, grateful to you all. Fall, Ise. I really appreciate your contribution and your comments, Homegirl Healer. Keep it up. Lance, you blew my mind with some of the comments you made. I think you sent me on like a 2 tirades, so I appreciate that. As always, Michael, my brother, Ise, I appreciate you. Don't wake up your son. Thanks for all you do. Thank you very much. Maybe I should keep the clappers to myself. Ivy Flow, hey, Chai, oh no, hey, no, Abiala, Ise. I feel like I'm at a wedding. You guys are just doing this to me right now. So I really, really, really appreciate that. So where are we at? Much appreciation. Okay, cool, man. You guys made me lose my train of thought with all the your gratitude. So I really appreciate that. So as I was saying, so you have the library. If you're a patron at patreon.com/the medicine shell, I'll type it again in case y'all forgot. The medicine shell. You have access to my in-house library if you want to do your own research and look into topics on your own time and own accord. And then we also have an Odinani live chat. I say this in every single live. It's one of my favorite parts of the month. We do it 2 times a month. We pick a topic and we really go in on that topic and we discuss. It's just like this, only it's like a Zoom. So like there's a bunch of us talking and giving our input and things like that. Sometimes we debate these ideas and so forth and come to these phenomenal conclusions. A lot of the people, and I would like to say I'm somewhat the draw, but to me, a lot of the people in there have these rich bodies of knowledge that they're coming from, be it IFA, comedic sciences, and so forth, and they're all giving the input from their perspectives. So it's a really nice mix of ideas and things like that. And then, of course, just personal, how you're feeling, personal ideas, personal experiences, all that stuff. So if you're interested in that, that's available for patrons as well. And what was the third one? There was some other third thing. I do shout outs. Yeah. Ekundayo had brought this up. Ekundayo, I hope you're still in the chat. In one of my videos, I think Chuku, I said that I was going to start doing the shout outs like Oliver De Cook style. So if you guys are familiar with Oliver De Cook, my father-in-law says that Oliver De Cook single-handedly destroyed Igbo culture, but that's a different discussion. So Oliver De Cook was a musician back in the day, and Oliver De Cook started this thing where he would shout out rich people. So if you paid him money or if you achieved great things in your society or your culture, he would shout out your name in a song. And there's a very specific way he'd shout out the songs and the instruments will be playing. But it got to the point that that became the ultimate flex, right? That was how you showed that if Oliver the Coke said your name in a song, you were out there. So Oliver the Coke now becomes a millionaire because all these people start throwing money at him, say my name in your song, say my name. So you get these like whole albums where he's just shouting out people's names and saying their business and then shouting and just it became ridiculous, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And so I was saying that maybe I start doing my shout outs all over the Cook style where I just whoever that kind of I don't you guys will hear it when it happens. So I said it. Nobody mentioned anything. I said if y'all want to hear it, let me know. It was towards the end of the video. I know the videos are long as all get out. So I'm trying to keep it kosher for the algorithm on this website. But the videos are very long, so it was towards the end. So I said, if y'all want to hear me do Oliver the Cook type shout outs, let me know. So I have a good friend of mine. He's a musician. He's working on the instrumental. Kundayo reminded me, hey, black people love to flex everywhere in the world. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing that ties us all together. So yeah, at a point like in the 90s and 80s, I think maybe 90s, maybe early 2000s, the ultimate flex was if Oliver De Cook said your name in a song, and it got to the point where he had like double disc albums of just saying people's name, and every single one of those songs slapped. Like there was not a single bad song that man made. Every one of those songs were phenomenal. So it's not taking anything away from him. But anyways, yeah, so all of those things are available at patreon.com/the medicine shell. If you want to be a part of the shout outs, that's specifically for the Is It tier. The Is It tier people are the ones that get shouted out because I used to do everybody, but thanks to the blessing of everything that's been going on with this channel and you guys' support, the list became too long. And it got to a point where like 25% of my video was me shouting out people. And I'm saying 25 as far as like once I started doing like 1 hour videos and stuff or 45-minute videos. So if you're interested in that, join at patreon.com/the medicine shell. The lowest tier is like $5. That's the entry tier, that type of thing. And there's a lot, you gain a lot at that tier. So if that's what you can do, cool. If you're looking to support at a higher level, there's always an option, that type of thing. So Ikundayo said bombs. Absolutely. I think this is what I'll do. What I'll do for donations. Just offer all G. Simple as that. We don't even make it loud or dramatic, you know. So yeah, man, this is always fun. It's very hard for me to click out of this because I'm having so much fun. Check out the Uga Explained video. I'm going to be chopping up the Uga Explained. Whoa, I'm coming, Miss. I think Miss eBay. Apologies. I'm going to be chopping the Uga video into parts. That was gross. The Yoga video into parts for people that ain't trying to sit through all of that. I've been chopping up the videos into smaller parts and then releasing them after the videos come out. If anybody doesn't like that, I'm gonna do it. So that's on you. That kind of thing. So, but the clips are helping people go back to or check out other videos because sometimes I'll say things within a video that isn't necessarily the topic at hand, but it's important to know. So I'm doing that. So each of the Yoga, I'm gonna be chopping them up and making little clips for them from the original video, as well as the stories within those and so forth. I'm going to be doing that from here on in. So if y'all like that, then cool. I grew up in Maryland. Go-Go sounds like Ogene music to me. I need to listen to more Go-Go. But that's really interesting you said that. I would consider her a friend. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know if you know. There's an influence. I'll call her an influencer. Her name is Hess Love. She is a big part of the hoodoo community, and she broke down to me she introduced me to a lot of the Igbo heritage in the DC area, in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. If you know the nature of slavery, you know, there's always this myth that everybody was brought over to pick cotton. But then you'd wonder, okay, if everybody was brought over to pick cotton, why were they checking people's height? Why are they checking their muscle build? All it doesn't make any sense, right? A lot of the people that were brought over from Igbo land were ironsmiths, right? And a lot of the ironsmithing for the early industrialization of America were done by Black people. Was done by Black African Americans. If you look at the African American Baptist Church, the AME, I think maybe I'm saying it wrong, AME Church. There's an anvil at the bottom, their logo. Their emblem. There's an anvil, and that anvil was because the first meetings of that church were held in the holdings or the house or I think the shop of a blacksmith. And from there they went and they built this thing. So that whole everybody was there. That's a myth. You know what I'm saying? It was a myth. There people were brought in based on their skills and their specialties and things like that. Certain parts of Africa were targeted based on the technology that they had and what they were familiar with and all that stuff. So the DC, Maryland, Virginia area has a lot of Igbo heritage there, and it is infused in the hoodoo tradition of the area. So I'll be doing a video on hoodoo very soon. I'm trying to become versed enough in it to speak on it. But yeah. But anyways, I gotta get out of here. Y'all are holding me up too much. Oh, I'm sorry. Chimoge Ibe. Hey. Oh yeah. Biathaji. Thank you very much. Just joined. Forgive me if you already answered the question, but here it is. To what extent did our ancestors view the story of the Ulga to be metaphorical and literal, respectively? That is a very, very, very good question. And you've reached a level of questioning where even the people who know a lot are at, and that is debated. So a lot of these things, there's a debate in the circles of those who know how literal are some of these concepts and how metaphorical are some of these concepts, right? And to my knowledge, it is a fusion of both. It is a fusion of both. So there's a document I have in the medicine library I was just reading recently, this morning, as I'm finishing up my research for the ALFA. And one of the things that was said was that the African worldview sees the world as a collection of symbols. So everything is a symbol, right? Everything is a symbol in the worldview. And if you listen to a lot of the videos, you'll see that. You'll see that from attire, everything somebody's wearing is a symbol. The sun is a symbol for something specific. A tree is a symbol for something specific. This right here, Oseaji, is a symbol for something very specific. Everything's a symbol. So in that way of thinking, the conclusion I'm steering towards is that it is a fusion of both metaphorical and literal. And the literal is not as important. I don't know how to explain it. The metaphorical is the foremost, but the literal is also there, but it's not as important. And maybe I'll find a way to squeeze it into a video where I explain that type of situation or what that means. I gotta get out of here. Y'all are holding me up with these questions and your gratitude and your genius. So yes, Lance, metaphysics is a combination of metaphorical / conceptual and literal. Lance, I don't know if you're already a patron, but I would like to see you in the group study that we have. I think you have a lot to contribute, unless you're more comfortable talking this way too. That's cool too. So I appreciate you guys all. You guys are a blessing. I strongly believe my chi brought me into the world to do exactly what I'm doing right now, right? And based on how I'm feeling, based on how you guys make me feel, based on everything that we've been able to do and how we're able to resonate and connect, I don't doubt that with anything in me, right? So you guys giving me the opportunity to speak and teach and do what I do is a blessing onto me. It's a blessing onto me. So I'm always thanking you. I'm always grateful for you guys. That being said, go check out the Yogai Explained. If you want to support the channel, you want to keep the movement moving, we are at patreon.com/themedicineshell. Big shout out to everybody who donated today. And that being said, Gachifo, Uno Gadi.